Chapter 2985. Sun Qian was even more surprised to see Xiao Hua being so respectful and calling her senior. After all, Xiao Hua's cultivation was much higher than hers. Of course, she quickly understood in her heart that the root cause of this was Zhen Qing. Fellow Taoist Xiao, you don't have to be so polite. Just call me fellow Taoist. Sun Qian struggled to get up. Although Zhen Qing and I are old friends, it's all in the past. There's no need to mention it. Then Sun Qian looked around and said, the grudge between Chen Yi and I is also from a long time ago. Fellow Taoist, you don't need to know about it. As for what happened in Burial Flower Manor, it was naturally my doing. I wished I could pull out her tendons and skin her alive. Destroying a few youth-retaining herbs is nothing. That day when you entered Burial Flower Manor, I was waiting for an opportunity and went in with you. Therefore, I knew you were Xiao Hua. Well, I thank fellow Taoist Xiao for saving my life. It's a pity that I can't repay you. Moreover, I have other things to do. Goodbye. After saying that, Sun Qian bowed and was about to leave with her flying technique. Ouch! Senior, don't worry. Seeing Sun Qian leaving in such a hurry, Xiao Hua was anxious and shouted, if you leave, what will I do? What will you do? Sun Qian was also surprised. I'm leaving by myself. What does that have to do with you? Xiao Hua rubbed his hands and said embarrassedly, Senior, your injuries don't seem to be so simple. I have some healing pills here. Moreover, with Senior's injuries, if he were to encounter Chen Yi, who has a heart as vicious as a scorpion, if he were to leave by himself, I'm afraid he would only die. Since she was able to send Chen Yuming over, who knows if she has other backup plans? Why don't you follow me and wait until your injuries are healed? You can go to the Imperial Thunder Sect or anywhere else. Won't I be relieved? Won't I be able to answer to Martial Uncle Zhen Qing? Zhen Qing was very good to Xiao Hua. How could Xiao Hua let go of such an opportunity to repay Zhen Qing? Sun Qian hesitated slightly and nodded. I can go with you, but don't tell Zhen Qing about me. Why? Xiao Hua was surprised. Sun Qian stubbornly raised her head and said indifferently, if fellow cultivator Xiao doesn't agree, I will leave immediately. All right. Although Xiao Hua didn't understand the relationship between Zhen Qing, Chen Yi, and Sun Qian, Xiao Hua understood a lot from Sun Qian's stubbornness, Chen Yi's viciousness, and the indecisiveness in Zhen Qing's flute. However, when Xiao Hua released his Buddhist consciousness again, where was Li Zongbao and Fairy Xianxia? Xiao Hua couldn't help but ask awkwardly, Senior, do you know where the nearest transmission array is? Sun Qian didn't understand why Xiao Hua didn't give her the pills and instead asked about the teleportation formation. She looked around and casually pointed to 3 places, saying, one of them leads to Twilight Tong City. I don't think fellow Taoist Xiao will walk right into a trap, right? Which of the 2 directions do you want to go, fellow Taoist? Seeing that one of the directions Sun Qian was pointing at was similar to the direction of Fairy Xianxia, Xiao Hua happily scratched his ears and cheeks and said, it's there. Then, he grabbed Sun Qian out of thin air and flew towards that direction. Although Sun Qian was injured, she was still a Jindan stage cultivator after all. Xiao Hua's grab made her look like a child, and Sun Qian didn't seem to have any strength to resist. This caused Sun Qian to be shocked again. However, Sun Qian immediately felt relieved. With the pressure of a nascent soul cultivator and the strength to easily kill a golden core cultivator, if Xiao Hua wasn't a nascent soul cultivator, who else could he be? However, while Sun Qian was relieved, she was puzzled again. After all, when Xiao Hua rushed into the Burial Flower Manor, Sun Qian was secretly watching from the side. Xiao Hua really had the strength of a foundation establishment cultivator. How long had it been? Could it be that Xiao Hua had already concealed his cultivation? Sun Qian naturally had this thought. However, the moment this thought appeared, Sun Qian immediately shouted, fellow Taoist Xiao, you're flying towards this direction. Xiao Hua was extremely embarrassed as he replied, thank you, Senior. This Xiao. Oh, I see it, it's here. Xiao Hua's flying speed increased. It was exactly where Sun Qian was pointing. Sun Qian naturally released her divine sense. Unfortunately, she couldn't see anything. Oh, by the way, Senior, please help me conceal my cultivation. Before nameless identity is exposed, don't tell others. Xiaohua seemed to be indifferent, but there was an unquestionable meaning in his tone. I understand. Although Sun Qian was stubborn, she still understood this kind of thing and agreed without hesitation. From afar, Xiaohua began to use his divine sense to harass Fairy Xianxia. He seemed to be in the right. Fairy Xianxia seemed to be in a fit of pique and did not release her divine sense. Only when they were close enough did Xiaohua helplessly shout, Senior brother Li, junior sister Xianxia, quickly come over and take out your pills. This senior son is injured. Ah, there's really a fight? Fairy Xianxia was also surprised. She released her divine sense and saw that beside Xiaohua was a female cultivator. Her expression changed instantly. Of course, after a moment, she saw Sun Qian's appearance again. Fairy Xia's face was slightly hot. She quickly went forward and took out the medicine that Xiaohua gave her. Senior, it's not that I don't want to give you elixirs. It's that I don't have any in my storage bag. Xiaohua only had eyes for others. His excellent character was immediately exposed. Thank you, junior niece. Facing Fairy Xianxia and Li Zongbao, Sun Qian's tense heart finally relaxed. She nodded with a smile and took the elixirs without hesitation. Then, Sun Qian changed into a Taoist robe with Fairy Xianxia and followed Xiaohua and the rest. Although Xiaohua's elixirs were miraculous, Chen Yuming wanted Sun Qian's life after all. If Sun Qian wanted to recover, it would take a period of time. With Xiaohua and the rest accompanying her, Sun Qian didn't have to worry. Although Fairy Xianxia didn't ask much, Xiaohua could not report. He explained the cause of the matter in detail. Of course, Sun Qian also listened at the side. Xiaohua thought that Sun Qian would definitely say something. She might even reveal the grudge between the three of them. Now that Chen Yi's viciousness had been exposed, Zhen Qing's choice would naturally be biased towards Sun Qian. If he could accomplish this, he would be repaying Zhen Qing, who knew that Sun Qian didn't say a word. No matter how Xiaohua tried to beat around the bush, Fairy Xianxia would agree. Helpless, Xiaohua could only shut his mouth and extinguish this thought. After a few days, Xiaohua's elixirs were effective. Sun Qian's injuries had healed and the teleportation array was in sight. Sun Qian immediately stopped flying and bowed. Fellow cultivator Xiao, thank you for saving my life. Now, I have to go somewhere and can't travel with the three of you. Goodbye. That. Xiaohua wanted to say something but hesitated. He cupped his hands and said, Senior, please be careful. That's right. Senior, there are some elixirs. Take them, they will be useful in the future. Fairy Xianxia was careful. Without waiting for Sun Qian to fly away, she immediately took out a jade bottle and handed it to Sun Qian. Sun Qian didn't want to accept it, but the effect of the elixir was really good. It was indeed very useful to her. Thus, Sun Qian hesitated. Senior, Martial Uncle Zhen Qing has helped me before. This is Junior's filial piety. Please accept it. Xiaohua was afraid that Sun Qian wouldn't accept it. Who knew that once Zhen Qing was mentioned, Sun Qian's expression changed. She said indifferently, I don't have any entanglements with Zhen Qing. Fellow cultivator Xiao, you misunderstood. After saying that, she flew away without looking back, leaving a lonely figure in everyone's eyes. You talk too much. Fairy Xianxia glared at Xiaohua and hurriedly flew over. Unfortunately, she was only a foundation establishment cultivator. How could she catch up with Sun Qian? Luckily, everyone was heading towards the teleportation formation. There was no need to worry about any mishaps. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. He knew that he had underestimated Sun Qian's stubbornness. He looked at Li Zongbao and didn't say anything. The two of them slowly flew behind. After half a day, they saw a beautiful town. Fairy Xianxia was standing in the air outside the town. Xiaohua looked at Fairy Xianxia's unhappy face and knew that the result was not good. He asked softly. I did catch up with her. I caught up with her when Senior Sun stepped into the teleportation formation. Fairy Xianxia sighed and said, It's a pity that Senior Sun didn't even talk to me. It was as if she didn't know me. She didn't even accept the elixir. This old lady is too. Xiaohua smacked his lips and shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Humph, that's called unforgettable love. Fairy Xianxia snorted and said, Unlike some people who knows how many good junior sisters. Bad girl, Xiaohua complained in his heart. He rolled his eyes and pretended to be mysterious. I'm afraid that's not all. I didn't dare to tell you guys earlier. I reckon that senior son, that Chen Yi, and martial uncle Zhen Qing have a story. Who is Chen Yi? Fairy Xianxia immediately became spirited. What story do the three of them have? This senior son. Although she has a scar on her face, she looks elegant. She must have been a beauty when she was young. Chen Yi. Xiaohua was a little troubled. He didn't know how to explain it. After thinking for a while, he gave a rough explanation. Although Xiaohua's oral ability was not as good as Li Zongbao's, his story was more bizarre. It even involved the story of the youthful grass and Sun Qian and Chen Yi. Fairy Xianxia was fascinated by it. Li Zongbao also finally knew the origin of Xiaohua's revitalizing elixir. At the same time, he naturally understood how dangerous the four of them had been in Tongmu City. But it was also because of this that Li Zongbao was even more puzzled. If Chen Yi was in Tongmu City, there was no reason for her to let Xiaohua go, even if Xiaohua was the hero of the battle. But if Chen Yi wasn't in Tongmu City, why would Chen Yuming ambush Sun Qian? However, at this time, they were only a short distance away from the Kai family of Luyang. How could Li Zongbao's heart contain anything else? He was just thinking about it in his heart. No matter how dangerous it was all Xiaohua's fault. Li Zongbao was a disciple of the Utopia faction. Even if Qing Liuzi was given a lot of courage, he would never dare to touch Li Zongbao at this time. Chapter 2986. However, Fairy Xianxia was not Li Zongbao. She still wanted to ask about Chen Yi and Sun Qian, as well as Zhen Qing. However, Xiaohua really did not know. He could only smile bitterly and shake his head. Actually, there's no need to ask about the truth of the story. Chen Yi won't mention it, and Sun Qian won't talk about it either. The only one who can talk about it is martial uncle Zhen Qing. Will he talk about it? It's useless to pursue this now. Look at Chen Yi's viciousness and scheming, as well as senior son's stubbornness. Sigh, any male cultivator would not have a good ending. If there's a chance, we can ask martial uncle Zhen Qing's opinion. It's best if we can play matchmaker. Xiaohua's words sounded simple, but this was a dispute between golden core cultivators. What could a few foundation establishment cultivators do? Actually, I think the biggest reason is senior son's face. Fairy Xianxia said worriedly. No one is willing to show their ugliest part to the person they love the most. Chen Yi is in charge of Burial Flower Manor. She has some elders who know poison. Senior son's face must be related to Chen Yi. Xiaohua nodded. If we don't heal the scar on his face, it won't be appropriate to give senior son the rejuvenation pill. We'll have to rely on you. Fairy Xianxia glared at Xiaohua. Didn't you say you can do anything except give birth? Yes, junior sister. I'll do whatever you ask. Xiaohua sighed. His efforts were not in vain. However, he felt that his words were wrong. He had no reason to ask for a junior sister. Fortunately, Fairy Xianxia rolled her eyes and did not argue with him. The three of them descended from the sky and entered the teleportation array. After exiting Rain Town's teleportation array, they were supposed to fly southwest. Xiaohua was no longer an Qi refinement disciple. It would only take a few days for him to accompany Fairy Xianxia and Li Zongbao to Yang Cauldron Mountain. However, the closer they got to Luyang, the more anxious Fairy Xianxia became. Even Li Zongbao, who was usually calm and steady, had a slight blush on his face. Let's take the flying boat. Xiaohua looked at Li Zongbao. The flying boat was in Li Zongbao's storage bag. Take us and fly back. Unexpectedly, Fairy Xianxia said resolutely, although the flowing cloud flying ship is fast, it can't compare to your lightning evasion. All right. Xiaohua didn't dare to decline, and he said in a low voice, Senior apprentice brother Li, don't use the slightest bit of magic power. Little brother will carry you and fly. Yes. Li Zongbao nodded slightly. Without waiting for him to speak, Xiaohua reached out with his left hand and grabbed Li Zongbao's wrist out of thin air, while his right hand gently wrapped around Fairy Xianxia's slender waist. With a rumbling sound of thunder, the three of them instantly turned into streaks of lightning and shot up into the sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. In less than 2 days, he saw a towering mountain in the distant forest. There was a huge cauldron at the top of the mountain. It was the Yang Cauldron Mountain that Xiaohua had seen when he first came to Luoyang. A slightly complicated expression appeared in Xiaohua's eyes. Yes, it had only been a few decades. The little itinerant cultivator from back then had now become a golden core cultivator. The feeling of uneasiness and the inability to see the future had now been replaced by complacency. Back then, he didn't know what the outcome would be when he entered Luoyang, but when he entered, he had a beauty in his arms. However, looking at the Yang Cauldron Mountain, it was still the same. At the foot of the mountain, the river that wasn't considered wide still flowed slowly, like a never-ending melody. What had changed were people, things, experiences, and attitudes. Are the fake mountains and stone sculptures in the small towns still the same? Xiaohua's figure swept across the river, and he couldn't help but think, is that blind old man still well? At that moment, Xiaohua suddenly turned around. Darling Xiao, Fairy Xianxia said anxiously, the Kai family is on the other side of the river, not in town. I know, Xiaohua said indifferently. However, I think there's something more important that needs to be done. Fairy Xianxia was stunned. She really didn't know what was more important than Kai Wuxia's life at that moment. When Xiaohua flew to a corner of the small town, he released Fairy Xianxia and Li Zongbao, and landed in the middle of the pile of stone sculptures. After a few decades, the group of stone sculptures had been damaged. The previously lifelike child had long lost his limbs, and the old cow that had lowered its head to plow the fields was gone. Only a large portion of its body remained, and there was a lot of bird droppings on it. Although Fairy Xianxia was born and grew up in Luoyang, she didn't know anything about the stone sculptures. The first time I came to Luoyang town, I saw a blind old man here. Xiaohua calmly recounted the situation that day. He was just a mortal and he was blind. Yet, he was able to focus on carving for 20 years. He used the unique scenery to decorate Luoyang, and used the beautiful scenery to repay the people who helped him. 20 years, almost 30% of his life, he had been doing this seemingly boring thing. He didn't know how great the effects of his carving would be, nor did he know how long his works would last. Yet he did it. Only when he did it, would his legacy remain in this world, and only then would others be able to see his existence. Now, the stone sculptures are already damaged. Perhaps it won't be long before they are cleaned up. Now, not many people will remember the old man who lowered his head to chisel the stones decades ago. When the stone sculptures are gone, even fewer people will know. But, this person, he really did exist. This matter. He really did try his best in the past. The beauty of Luoyang. It really did exist. The life and death of a person are coincidental, but also inevitable. Even if a mortal only lives for 50 to 60 years, even if a Mahayana cultivator lives for tens of thousands of years, as long as they live, they work hard, they do something, they will leave a deep mark in this world. Humans may not remember, but heaven and earth will remember, and so will the heavenly Tao. Sometimes, life and death aren't scary. What's scary is being mediocre. Xiaohua looked at the traces left behind by the vicissitudes of time on this stone sculpture and spoke with deep emotions. When Li Zongbao and Fairy Xianxia heard this, their hearts were moved. For Xiaohua to be able to cultivate to the nascent soul stage in such a heaven-defying manner, there was indeed something special about him. The two of them were completely convinced. Junior brother's words are extremely true. I am indeed somewhat superficial. Li Zongbao took a deep breath. Wuxia's life and death isn't important. What's important is the unforgettable memory of her. Hearing Li Zongbao's words, Xiaohua was relieved. After all, Li Zongbao had placed too much hope in Kai Wuxia's life. He really didn't dare to guarantee that his strange willow branch would be able to keep Kai Wuxia alive. If he wasn't facing a living Kai Wuxia, but a skeleton, Xiaohua didn't know if Li Zongbao, who cultivated the parting emotions treasure mirror and whose mind was injured by the immortal slaying whip, could remain calm. Phew, Fairy Xianxia also let out a long breath and nodded. Darling Xiao, I was too anxious. Let's go now. Xiaohua glanced at the broken stone sculptures again. With a flick of his sleeves, his body floated up again. A chant similar to Sanskrit came from Xiaohua's mouth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, all living things must return to their origin. This stone sculpture has already completed its mission. If it's still here, it will become a tragic scene. Why don't you go too? As Xiao Hua's voice fell, all the stone sculptures slowly stirred up fine dust in the wind. Not long after, they completely disappeared between heaven and earth. The people were gone, the objects were gone too. Their memories would naturally be gone too. Fairy Xianxia adjusted her mood and didn't even release her divine sense. She brought Xiao Hua and slowly flew to the other side of the river. Just like before, many of the secular people in Luyang town stopped in their tracks and respectfully bowed to the three of them. Some of the elders who knew Fairy Xianxia even knelt on the ground. One could see the prestige of the Kai family in Luyang. In just a moment, they had crossed the river. Xiao Hua looked at the continuous manor in the distance, and the majestic archway and vermilion door. It was obviously more imposing than before. He couldn't help but smile. The Kai family of Luyang is no longer what it used to be. Fairy Xia's face also revealed a faint smile. She said cheerfully, "Darling Xiao, you must be joking. I haven't been back for a long time." Darling Xiao has contributed greatly to the Kai family's current development. Immediately after, Fairy Xia tidied her Taoist robe and said politely, "Senior brother, this way please." "All right." Li Zongbao nodded. He knew that Fairy Xia was performing the etiquette of a host. "I remember that the doors of your Kai family have always been tightly shut. It seems that only the doors of nobility and the doors of life and death can open. Why are they open today?" Just as Fairy Xia was being polite to Li Zongbao, Xiao Hua's sharp eyes saw the vermilion door slowly opening. "Don't listen to that Kai Mingsong's nonsense." Fairy Xia pursed her lips and said, "Our Kai family of Luyang is just a cultivation family. Why do we have so many rules? When I left Luyang to join the Huanhua sect, I had already asked my father to abolish this rule. The Kai family of Qingyang really can't control our Kai family of Luyang." Immediately after, Fairy Xia looked at the people who were walking out of the door. She smiled and said, "Perhaps there are some important guests who are here today? It doesn't matter who comes, as long as it's not a matter of life and death." Xiao Hua smiled. "Don't jinx it." Fairy Xia glared at him. "Don't blame me for not letting you enter the manor if you continue." I wouldn't dare." Xiao Hua shrunk his neck and stole a glance at Li Zongbao. It was a pity that Xiao Hua's advice was wasted. Li Zongbao was in the middle of the situation. Although he knew that he shouldn't be so worried and that he would get the results in a moment, his eyes were still looking into the distance, somewhat absent-minded. Forget it, humans aren't saints. If all the male cultivators in the world were as infatuated as Li Zongbao, the female cultivators wouldn't be sad. Xiao Hua sighed and didn't say anything more. Since Xiao Hua and the rest had already seen the Kai family's door open, the people walking out of the door naturally saw the three people in mid-air. A few not-so-strong foundation establishment divine senses swept over. Chapter 2987. Naturally, those divine thoughts only scanned Xiao Hua and Li Zongbao for a moment before landing on Fairy Xia. In a moment, 3 to 5 cultivators hurriedly flew out from the gate and rushed towards the three of them. Xiao Hua could see clearly that the person in front of him was Kai Haisong. Although they hadn't seen each other for decades, Kai Haisong's hair had turned white and he was covered in wrinkles. However, his tall, thin figure, square face, and bright eyes were exactly the same as when Xiao Hua first met him. In fact, his tightly shut lips were even more majestic than before. However, at this moment, Kai Haisong's tightly shut lips were trembling. His bright eyes were flashing with surprise and love. The several people near him were also in the early stage of the foundation building realm. Although they were also old, Xiao Hua could still recognize them. They were none other than Kai Haisong's several clan brothers, Kai Shansong, Kai Fengsong, and Kai Hasong. When Fairy Xia saw that her father was coming, she was overjoyed. She ignored Xiao Hua and hurriedly flew down. Unfortunately, before Fairy Xia could call out, "Father," Kai Haisong suddenly stood in mid-air. Kai Shansong and the rest also stood respectfully. The four of them bowed together and said, "Master of the Kai family of Luyang, Kai Haisong, and his clan relatives, Kai Shansong, Kai Fengsong, and Kai Hasong, greet Fairy Xia of the Huanhua sect." Fairy Xia was stunned. Then, her face showed bitterness. She hurriedly stopped. This was the etiquette of the Huanhua sect. It was the face of the Huanhua sect. She didn't dare to avoid it and accepted the bow firmly. Then she returned the bow and said, "Master of the Kai family, please rise." Then, Fairy Xianxia pointed at Li Zongbao and Xiaohua who were flying over and said calmly, "This is Li Zongbao of the Utopia sect and Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder sect. Yes, master of the Kai family of Luyang, Kai Haisong, and his clan relatives, Kai Shansong, Kai Fengsong, and Kai Hesong, greet senior brother Li Zongbao of the Utopia sect and senior brother Xiaohua of the Imperial Thunder sect." Kai Haisong and the rest did not dare to tarry as they hurriedly bowed again. Furthermore, unlike the way they treated Fairy Xianxia, they even added the words, "senior brother." As a disciple of the Huanhua sect, Fairy Xianxia was naturally afraid that there would be a difference in etiquette when she returned to the Kai family sect in Luyang. However, Li Zongbao and Xiaohua were a little different. When the two of them heard Kai Haisong address him as senior brother, their faces were already filled with fear. They looked at each other and hurriedly extended their hands, saying anxiously, "Senior Kai, please don't stand on ceremony." As they spoke, the two of them were about to activate their Fa Li. However, as soon as they released their Fa Li, they immediately felt that it was inappropriate and simultaneously withdrew their Fa Li. However, the two of them immediately returned the greeting, not daring to accept it like Fairy Xianxia. Senior Kai. Kai Haisong and the others were bewildered. They looked at Li Zongbao, then at Xiaohua, and finally at Fairy Xianxia. At this moment, Xiaohua looked like he was in the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. However, he had previously visited the Kai family sect in Luyang when he was around Qi refining stage level 4. He could be considered an old acquaintance of the Kai family. It was barely acceptable for him to call him senior. However, Li Zongbao was now in the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. Furthermore, Li Zongbao's name was like the sun in the sky in the 3 cultivation countries. Everyone knew that he was the strongest person below the golden core stage. How could he call him senior? However, when Kai Haisong saw the slight blush on Fairy Xianxia's face, he could not help but laugh. He looked left and right at the few disciples of the sect. His eyes were filled with realization. Head of the Kai family, let us descend and speak. Fairy Xianxia was naturally a little shy. However, she still spoke in a proper manner. "Yes, please." A smile appeared on Kai Haisong's wrinkled face as he respectfully stepped aside. Fairy Xiaoxia's face was also formal as she raised her hand and said, "Senior brother Li, junior brother Xiao, please." "All right." Xiaohua was clearly impatient with this kind of etiquette. He glanced at Li Zongbao and descended from the sky. Li Zongbao did not mind and also landed on the ground. On the other hand, Kai Haisong and the rest were a little surprised. Fairy Xianxia could be considered as half a host. Naturally, she would invite Li Zongbao and Xiaohua to go first. However, Li Zongbao's cultivation level was higher than Xiaohua's, so Li Zongbao should be the one to land first. Furthermore, Li Zongbao was the leader of the first group in the conference hall. If he did not go first, who would? However, Kai Haisong immediately understood. When Xiaohua came to the Kai family sect decades ago, he was originally a rogue cultivator. He probably did not know about this kind of etiquette. Looking at Li Zongbao's magnanimous appearance, Kai Haisong's eyes almost narrowed. When the group of people landed, the Kai family disciples standing by the vermilion door bowed and greeted them respectfully. However, there were 2 early foundation establishment disciples in front of the group. They looked to be middle-aged, but their facial features were very similar to Kai Haisong and the rest. Xiaohua looked at the disciples in front of him who were around the 10th level of Qi refining and sighed in his heart. A few decades ago, when he first came to the Kai family sect, most of the disciples he received were at the 3rd or 4th level of Qi refining. In just a few decades, the Kai family's cultivation level had increased by more than a level. In fact, other than the family head and the rest who had already built their foundation, even the second-generation disciples had built their foundation. Ingjun Hongshang, the 2 of you have cultivated well. Fairy Xianxia looked at the 2 disciples who were much older than her and said with a smile, "Many thanks for elder sister's praise." The 2 disciples respectfully replied, "Our Kai family is proud of elder sister. We follow elder sister's example and cultivate diligently. Our cultivation level is nothing in front of elder sister." And it has been hard on you. Fairy Xianxia felt a little bitter in her heart. She knew that the two of them were able to cultivate to the foundation establishment stage in the Kai family sect. If they were in a cultivation sect, their future would be bright. However, the two of them stayed in Luoyang for the sake of the Kai family sect's future. These two would definitely be the candidates for the position of family head in the future. Elder sister and the rest have worked harder than us. The two of them smiled and said, our Kai family sect still needs the support of elder sister and the rest. Elder sister understands. Fairy Xianxia nodded. Then Fairy Xianxia waved her hand and said, you all can rise. The matter between the Huanhua sect and the Kai family sect is over. Now, it's time to pay respects. Xianxia, you can't. Kai Haisong hurriedly stopped her. Did you get the Huanhua sect's permission to return to the Kai family sect? You have to show us the Huanhua sect's token first. At this point, Fairy Xianxia couldn't care less. Looking at Kai Haisong's bitter face for the sake of the Kai family sect's prosperity, she knelt on the ground and said sadly, Father, this boy is unfilial. He hasn't returned for so many years. You've worked hard. Xianxia. Kai Haisong couldn't help but feel sad. Tears flowed down his face as he went forward to support his daughter. Seeing that Fairy Xianxia was also crying, he used his rough hand to wipe away the tears on her delicate face and said, hurry and get up. You're already so old. You'll be a joke to outsiders. It's all right, Father. We're not outsiders. Fairy Xianxia whispered shyly. And Father knows. Kai Haisong looked at Li Zongbao with great satisfaction and said, you're not young anymore. Furthermore, you're not a disciple of our Kai family sect. These matters aren't something that Father can handle. Everything depends on your sect. However, Father is very satisfied. After the great battle of Dao Sword, Father has been inquiring about the battle. Yuan, fellow Taoist Li and fellow Taoist Zhao's deeds, we've heard it word by word. We've heard it more than once. You've really given the Kai family sect face. Kai Haisong then turned to Li Zongbao and said, fellow Taoist Li in the future. Father. Fairy Xia's face turned red as she said shyly, it's not senior brother Li. Kai Haisong and the others were stunned and immediately felt slightly disappointed in their hearts. However, after a moment, Kai Haisong smiled again and looked at Xiao Hua and said, fellow Taoist Xiao, I'll leave the future matters to you. How could Xiao Hua not see Kai Haisong's disappointment? However, if he asked himself honestly, Xiao Hua's current performance was indeed far inferior to Li Zongbao, whether it was in terms of cultivation or so-called family power. However, Xiao Hua could see the sincerity in Kai Haisong's smile. It came from the bottom of his heart. Although Kai Haisong's last words weren't many, they were heavy. They were the expectations of a loving father for his daughter's future happiness. This junior will. Xiao Hua bowed respectfully. Although this wasn't considered a dual cultivation ceremony, Xiao Hua didn't dare to be negligent. Get up. Kai Haisong smiled through his tears and extended his right hand to lift Xiao Hua up. However, he was satisfied. Kai Shansong and the rest, as well as Kai Yingjun and the other juniors, weren't too happy. The difference between Li Zongbao and Xiao Hua was obvious. Moreover, Li Zongbao's name was too famous now. Although Fairy Xianxia, Xiao Mao, and Xiao Hua followed closely behind, they were still far away. These people were complaining that Fairy Xianxia didn't look for Li Zongbao, but went to look for Xiao Hua instead. In fact, when Kai Haisong lifted Xiao Hua up with his right hand, he looked at Li Zongbao with some regret. He was still a little puzzled as to why Li Zongbao addressed him as senior. Xiao Hua stood up respectfully, but Fairy Xianxia didn't. Instead, she clapped her hands and took out a jade box from her storage bag. She raised it above her head and said, Father, this is your daughter's gift to you. Please accept it. Looking at Fairy Xia's respect in the jade box, Kai Haisong's heart was already full. He said lovingly, You child, you've left enough things for the Kai family of Luoyang. These things are all for cultivation. You can use them as much as you want. Father doesn't lack anything. Father, this thing has nothing to do with cultivation. It's your daughter's filial piety. Take a look first. Fairy Xianxia said coquettishly. Although Fairy Xianxia wasn't young anymore, her appearance was still the same. Looking at her, Kai Haisong felt that she was still the child he used to love. He couldn't help but smile and said, "I know. Father, take a look." When Kai Haisong opened it, he was stunned. It was just an ugly elixir. He really couldn't tell what kind of elixir it was. However, he still happily said, "Good child, father will accept this item. Get up." Chapter 2988. Hee Daddy, you don't even know what this is. At this moment, Fairy Xianxia stood up and laughed. "As long as it's from you, father will like it no matter what it is." Kai Haisong seemed to be afraid that Fairy Xianxia would be sad and hurriedly kept it. "This is a rejuvenation pill." Fairy Xiaxia's expression was indifferent. She looked at Kai Shansong and company and said, "Father, you have given your all for the Kai family of Luyang and have worked hard for your entire life. Your daughter would like to thank you for everything you have done for the Kai family of Luyang. Also, I've only received one rejuvenation pill this time. However, I promise uncles that I'll send the other rejuvenation pills to Luyang in half a year's time." Rejuvenation pill. After the Great War of the Sword Path, the name of Sky Patrol City became famous again in the three kingdoms of cultivation. The rejuvenation pill's name was more suitable than the ageless pill, making it one of the most coveted pills for female cultivators. Although Kai Haisong and the rest were not very interested in restoring their youth, they knew the name of this pill. Not only was Kai Haisong shocked, but all the disciples of the Kai family were shocked. They might not know the effects of the rejuvenation pill, but they knew the price of the rejuvenation pill. It was definitely not something the Kai family of Luyang could afford. Hearing that it was such a precious elixir, Kai Haisong did not hesitate. He quickly reached into his clothes and took out the jade box. He handed it to Fairy Xianxia and said, "Father, why are you taking this elixir? Or are you?" However, when Kai Haisong's gaze fell on Fairy Xiaxia's youthful face, he immediately came to a realization. He shook his head with a smile and turned to pass it to Xiao Hua. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua's face was even younger than Fairy Xiaxia's. Shansong. Finally, Kai Haisong looked at Kai Shansong behind him and handed the jade box over. He said, "Big brother is old, so it's useless to take this. You've contributed a lot to the Kai family, so I'll give this to you." A look of surprise flashed across Kai Shansong's face, but he shook his head and said, "Big brother, this rejuvenation pill is a gift from Fairy Xianxia. It has nothing to do with us. If I want it, it must be given to me by June." "That's right, big brother." Kai Fengsong smiled and said, "Fairy Xianxia said that we'll have it within half a year's time. You should take it first. Let us see the effects of this legendary rejuvenation pill." "Yes, father. You don't have to be so polite. Boy here guarantees to uncle, as well as June and Hongxing, that after half a year, there will definitely be a rejuvenation pill for them." Fairy Xianxia said word by word, glancing at Xiao Hua beside her. "That's right, Senior Kai. Since Senior Sister has already said so, you can rest assured." Xiao Hua hurriedly moved forward and said, "If Senior Sister doesn't have the time to come back, it's the same for Junior to make a trip." "All right." Kai Haisong thought for a moment and smiled. "Then this old man will also keep it and consume it together after half a year." Hearing this, Fairy Xianxia and Xiao Hua's hearts thumped at the same time. Almost at the same time they said, "Don't." Xianxia Fairy looked at Xiao Hua and said, "Father, you should take it when we are at home. Let your daughter see what you were like when you were young. Alas, it's a pity that your mother died early." Kai Haisong sighed. "Oh yes." Xianxia Fairy was stunned. She looked at her uncles and said, "Auntie and the others will also get it. Niece, let's think of a way together." Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. He wanted to send a voice transmission but he didn't dare to disturb Xianxia Fairy's mood. This rejuvenation pill was indeed excellent, but if there were really too many of them, wouldn't Luyang's Kai family become the target of public criticism? How could a small cultivation family withstand the covetous eyes of a golden core female cultivator? Fortunately, Kai Fengsong said in time, "Xianxia, although you have military merits and the Huanhua sect will reward you with these, you don't have to be too embarrassed. Uncle and the others don't have to worry about it." Hearing this, Xiao Hua hurriedly stretched out his hand and took out a storage pouch from his bosom. He respectfully handed it to Kai Haisong and said, "Senior Kai, This is a small token of appreciation from Junior and Senior Li Zongbao. Please accept it. These things were already prepared by Xiao Hua on the way here. It was just that he didn't tell Fairy Xianxia about it. When Fairy Xianxia saw that Xiao Hua was being polite, she was also very happy in her heart. Her previous grudge had dissipated by quite a bit. Hee hee, Xiao Hua, the last time you came to my Kai family, you brought a lot of good things. My Kai family benefited a lot because of this. I've always wanted to thank you. Now that I'm here again, there's no need to be so courteous. Kai Haisong said and looked at Li Zongbao. Fellow cultivator Li is an outstanding disciple of the Utopia faction. It's good that you're here in Luyang. There's no need to be courteous. Li Zongbao knew that these were Xiao Hua's things. However, he wouldn't be courteous to Xiao Hua. His face was a little red as he bowed. It's my duty, it's my duty. Li Zongbao didn't know how to speak before Xianxia Fairy explained his situation to Kai Haisong. Moreover, he was a man of few words. Father. Xianxia Fairy knew that this matter needed to be reported to Kai Haisong alone. She whispered, Boy, there's something? Kai Haisong handed the storage bag to Kai Shansong and said, Wait a moment. You came back at the wrong time. Ah? At this moment, Kai Shansong exclaimed from the side. Not only did it cause Kai Haisong to frown, but everyone's gaze also fell on him before he could finish his sentence. However, Kai Shansong didn't care about the gazes of others. He handed the storage bag to Kai Haisong and stuttered, Big brother you take a look. Xianxia Fairy didn't think it was strange. She looked at Xiao Hua. Her reproachful eyes clearly said, At least you know your place. Hee hee. Xiao Hua was about to smile in return when Xianxia Fairy glared at him and looked at the storage bag in Kai Haisong's hand. Ah! Sure enough, even though Kai Haisong was mentally prepared, he could see the items in the storage bag. There were a lot of spirit stones, flying swords, magical weapons, and especially many jade slips. Although Kai Haisong didn't look at the jade slips, he knew that they must be secret skills. Nephew Xiao. This is too precious. Kai Haisong wanted to return the storage bag to Xiao Hua, but he was reluctant. The items in the storage bag were not comparable to the rejuvenation elixir. They were exactly what the Kai family needed to carry forward their development. As a cultivation clan, Luyang's Kai family cannot compare to Qingyang's Kai family. Not only are their descendants' bloodlines not pure, they are also lacking in cultivation methods and secret techniques. If they are compared to cultivation sects, they are also lacking in magic tools and spirit stones. Although Xiao Hua's storage pouch cannot instantly raise Luyang's Kai family to the level of a cultivation sect, it will not be difficult for it to surpass Qingyang's Kai family. It's okay, Senior Kai. The items in the storage bag belong to me and Senior Li. They have nothing to do with the Utopia faction or the Imperial Thunder sect. Xiao Hua smiled. And these items? I'm just replicating them. You don't have to take it to heart. Even if they're replicating, this gift is too much. Kai Haisong sighed and bowed again to thank Li Zongbao. Thank you for your generous gift. Kai Haisong naturally gave most of the storage bag to Li Zongbao. It's my duty, it's my duty. Li Zongbao returned the bow awkwardly. At this moment, two divine thoughts swept over from afar. They scanned the crowd unscrupulously. Then, one divine thought locked onto Li Zongbao, while the other stayed on Xiao Hua. Fairy Xianxia frowned slightly. Kai Haisong smiled bitterly and said in a low voice, Xianxia, today is the day that the head of the Kai family of Qingyang, Kai Yang, and the great elder Kai Hongfeng are coming to Luyang. They just sent a message amulet. Father brought the disciples out to welcome them. Who knew that they would bump into you on your way home? You're no longer a disciple of the Kai family of Luyang. You just have to watch from the side. Yes, I understand. Fairy Xianxia looked at Kai Haisong and knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. However, since Kai Haisong did not want to talk about it and time was of the essence, Fairy Xianxia did not ask too much. Disciples, get ready to welcome the head of the Kai family of Qingyang. Kai Haisong carefully kept the storage bag and waved his hand as he said loudly. Yes, we understand. The disciples' morale was high and their voices soared into the sky. The Kai family of Qingyang has always sent housekeepers and even deacons to Luyang. The most solemn one was when the great elder brought Xianxia to seek revenge for Wuxia. This time, even the head of the family came personally. It seems like this is not a small matter. Fairy Xianxia looked at the two figures that gradually appeared, and a thoughtful expression appeared on her face. Not long after, two sage-like cultivators appeared in front of everyone. The one in front of them had a rectangular face, a pair of slender eyes, and two white eyebrows that slanted deep into his temples. Although there were many wrinkles on his face, they were not too dense, and his ruddy face carried an arrogant expression. This person's appearance was somewhat similar. He was the head of the Kai family of Jianghu, Yang, a cultivator who had just stepped into the late foundation establishment stage. Only the cultivator behind Yang was clearly recognized by Xiaohua. It was the great elder of the Kai family of Jianghu, Kai Hongfeng, who had hunted him down here decades ago. The divine sense that had locked onto him was also his. However, at this time, Kai Hongfeng was no longer the early foundation establishment stage cultivator of the past. His cultivation had also reached the middle foundation establishment stage. Moreover, when he saw Kai Hongfeng's mouth moving slightly and the way Kai Yang looked at him was different. There was some hatred in his eyes. Xiaohua understood that he had been remembered by the head of the Kai family of Jianghu. Kai Yang and Kai Hongfeng descended from the sky. Kai Haisong led a group of Liu Yang's Kai family disciples to greet them. Kai Yang and Kai Hongfeng calmly accepted everyone's greetings, then raised their hands and said, "All of you rise." Then, Kai Yang ignored Kai Haisong and the others and turned to salute Li Zongbao. The head of the Kai family of Jianghu, Kai Yang, greets fellow Taoist Li Zongbao. Congratulations to fellow Taoist Li for leading the first team of the Tao Sect's meeting hall to obtain outstanding military merits in the Great Tao Sword Battle. Chapter 2989. Yes. Li Zongbao was respectful to Kai Haisong, but not to Kai Yang. He returned the greeting casually. "The war is over. My achievements are history. There's no need to mention it again. I admire fellow cultivator Li for treating fame and fortune as fleeting clouds. If possible, I wonder if I could invite fellow cultivator Li to the Jianghu Kai family as a guest? The thousands of disciples of the Jianghu Kai family admire fellow cultivator Li very much." Kai Yang didn't seem to find Li Zongbao's attitude inappropriate and asked politely, "I came here with junior sister Hongxia for some business. I'll return to the Utopia faction when I'm done." Li Zongbao was a little impatient, but he didn't want to cause trouble for Kai Haisong. He said evasively, "If there's an opportunity in the future, it won't be too late for me to go." Seeing that Li Zongbao didn't refuse immediately, which was different from the rumors, Kai Yang was very happy. He hurriedly took out a message charm and handed it to Li Zongbao. He smiled and said, "If fellow cultivator Li comes to visit, please send a message to me as soon as possible. The disciples of the Jianghu Kai family welcome you." "Yes." Li Zongbao's face was calm. Although there was anxiety in his eyes, he still reached out to take it. "Fellow cultivator Xiao," Kai Hongfeng said coldly without waiting for Kai Yang to speak. "This is the second time we've met." "Yes." Xiaohua looked up and down at Kai Hongfeng. He didn't seem to have any intention of fighting, so he nodded calmly. "I didn't expect that a little level 4 qi refining cultivator would become a foundation establishment cultivator who dominated the Taoist sword war." Kai Hongfeng continued, "However, how are you going to explain the fact that fellow Taoist Xiao killed Xianxia, a disciple of my Kai family?" How will I explain it?" Xiaohua smiled. "I've already told you about this matter several decades ago. Could it be that great elder Kai has already forgotten?" "Haha, of course I remember it." Kai Hongfeng laughed. "But this is the life of a direct disciple of the Kai family. I don't know if fellow cultivator Xiao will give us an explanation now?" "Hongfeng," Kai Yang scolded him as expected. "Why do you keep harping on what happened in the past and refuse to let go? Who was fellow cultivator Xiao before? Who is fellow Taoist Xiao now? In the past, fellow Taoist Xiao was just a rogue cultivator. But now, fellow Taoist Xiao is not only an elite disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, but also a member of the first team in the Tao Sect's discussion hall. He is a person with outstanding military exploits and is not far from being able to command the entire Shi country. How could he not give the Kai family an explanation? Even if he doesn't give us an explanation, Won't the Imperial Thunder Sect give us an explanation? Won't the leader of the first squad give us an explanation? Li Zongbao stared blankly. He didn't know that Xiaohua actually had a grudge with Qin Yang's Kai family. However, he looked at Xiaohua and then at Kai Yang. He said indifferently, "This is junior brother Zhao's own matter. It has nothing to do with my discussion hall's first team. If you have anything to say, just tell him directly. I won't interfere." Hearing this, Kai Yang's eyes narrowed slightly, as if he didn't quite understand. He was obviously giving Li Zongbao face. Li Zongbao only needed to say one word, no, just half a word, and he would definitely accept it. But he didn't think. Heh. Xiaohua also chuckled. "Kai family head, I'm sure you've heard the great elders report on what happened that day. The truth of the matter is right there, but this Xiao is not willing to talk about it. If Kai family head wants to seek justice for Xianxia, then I will accept it. At this time, not only does it have nothing to do with the discussion hall's first team, it also has nothing to do with the Imperial Thunder Sect." There, Kai Yang laughed. He could only reply, "No matter what the matter is, and no matter how great the impact fellow Taoist Xiao has caused, fellow Taoist Xiao is after all a great hero of the Shi country. How can this old man make a move? Today, in front of fellow Taoist Li of the Utopia sect, this old man will make a decision. The previous matter will be overturned. If fellow Taoist Xiao accompanies fellow Taoist Li to my Qin Yang's Kai family, my Kai family will still treat you as a distinguished guest." "Thank you so much, Kai family head." Xiaohua was slightly stunned. However, he didn't want to be at odds with the Qin Yang's Kai family and make things difficult for Kai Haisong, so he bowed and said. Unexpectedly, Kai Yang didn't return the bow, but accepted it directly. He really regarded Xiaohua as a cultivator in the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. Then he turned to Fairy Xianxia with a solemn face and raised his hand. This old man greets Fairy Xianxia. Fairy Xianxia naturally didn't dare to be negligent. She hurriedly bowed and returned the bow. She smiled and said, "Family head, you don't have to be so polite. The fairy's order was just a joke. Family head is a senior. How can you address me in such a manner? If you were still a disciple of the Kai family, this old man would definitely call you Fairy Xianxia, and definitely not say a word more." Kai Yang said lightly. "However, you are now a disciple of the Huanhua sect, and also a member of the discussion hall's first team in the Great Battle of Dao Sword. Your name is now known all over the world. As the family head of the Kai family, this old man has to address you as Fairy Xianxia. Senior, you think too highly of this junior." Fairy Xianxia frowned slightly, but still nodded. "Fairy Xianxia is from the Kai family. Now that you are a disciple of the Huanhua sect, you have achieved great military exploits. While the Huanhua sect is proud of you, you have also brought glory to the Kai family. You have set an excellent example for the disciples of the Kai family. It is enough for the cultivators of the Three Kingdoms to see the prestige of the Kai family. This is excellent. Even if this old man, even the previous generations of family heads of the Kai family, would not be able to achieve such a feat. Not only the Kai family of Luyang, but also the Kai family of Qingyang. All the disciples of the Kai family will be proud of you. This junior wouldn't dare," Fairy Xianxia said softly. However, as expected, Kai Yang changed the topic and said, "You are now a disciple of the Huanhua sect. You must remember your status. Although you have military exploits, but you must not be arrogant and cannot be complacent. Fellow Taoist Li said it very well just now. Military exploits represent the past, and have become fleeting clouds. You must not sleep on your military exploits." "Yes, this junior understands." Fairy Xiao's frown deepened, but she still replied. "However, the war is not over yet. Why did you suddenly return to Luyang? Did you come back on the orders of the Huanhua sect to visit your family?" As he spoke, Kai Yang's gaze swept to his left, but he did not see the token of the Huanhua sect. "Now is the time of war. Would the Huanhua sect allow you to return to Luyang?" This junior was out training and happened to pass by Luyang. "I thought that I had not seen my family for a long time, so I came back to take a look." Fairy Xianxia bit her lip, her voice even softer. You are filial. To think of the Kai family, this old man has to say that you are not bad." Kai Yang nodded. However, you do not have the token of the Huanhua sect. It is not proper for you to return to Luoyang, so you should hurry back. This old man will pretend that I did not see you. Fellow Taoist Kai, Li Zongbao spoke up. I have been rushing about and am indeed tired. I need to rest for a while before I can move. All right. Kai Yang nodded. Fellow Taoist Li's words make sense. The first team of the meeting hall can rest anywhere. Naturally Luoyang can too. However, Kai Hongfeng said, since you are part of the first team of the meeting hall, you are a disciple of a cultivation sect. You cannot interfere with the family affairs of the cultivation aristocratic families. Li Zongbao frowned and nodded. Indeed. Aristocratic family affairs are handled by the aristocratic families themselves. The various sects and clans will not interfere. Kai Yang continued. Since fellow Taoist Li has said so, I can rest assured. Moreover, Fairy Xianxia from the Huanhua sect is here today. This saves me the trouble of explaining things to her alone in the future. When Fairy Xianxia heard Kai Yang first accuse her of being a disciple of the Huanhua sect, then confirmed Li Zongbao and Xiao Hua's identities as part of the first team of the meeting hall, and then brought up the aristocratic family affairs, she felt that something was amiss. She was surprised and quickly looked up at Kai Haisong. As expected, Kai Haisong had a complicated expression on his face. Clearly, he understood Kai Yang's arrival and his intentions very well. Fairy Xianxia felt a pang in her heart. She knew that her father would rather take on this responsibility himself. He would rather put himself in a difficult position than let her know. After Kai Yang finished speaking, he no longer paid any attention to Fairy Xianxia and the rest. He turned to Kai Haisong and said lightly, Haisong, what I told you a few days ago, have you thought it through? Reporting to family head, I have thought it through. Kai Haisong did not dare to delay and quickly replied. What do you mean? A smile appeared on Kai Yang's face. Do you think this old man's suggestion is good? Kai Haisong took a deep breath and shook his head. Reporting to family head, although the Kai family of Luoyang is a branch of the Kai family of Qingyang, for thousands of years, we have been living in a remote corner. In Luoyang, in Yang Cauldron Mountain, we have been deeply rooted in Luoyang. There is no reason for us to move to Qingyang and become one with the Kai family of Qingyang. Then, you are against it? Kai Yang's face was obviously stunned as he asked coldly. That's right, I am against family head's suggestion. Kai Haisong nodded. Is it your idea or everyone's idea? Kai Yang glanced at Kai Shansong and the rest and asked again. Kai Haisong hurriedly said, I am the family head of the Kai family of Luoyang. I am the only one who can make this decision. I don't need their opinions. Haisong, oh Haisong, I have overestimated you. Kai Yang shook his head vigorously with a pained expression. He seemed to be extremely disappointed. I thought that you would place the interests of the Kai family above everything else. But now, you have really disappointed me. You are so short-sighted. You only see your own power and forgot about the development of the Kai family. This really hurts me. Kai Haisong, Kai Hongfeng, who was beside him, also mocked him. Now that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth on Xiaoyu continent has changed greatly, all kinds of cultivation techniques and secret techniques are gradually losing their effectiveness. The future of the disciples of the cultivation sects is bleak. As for the disciples of the cultivation sects, because of their bloodline, they are like fish in water in the mutated spiritual energy. Many of them have awakened their true spirit bloodline and obtained true spirit celestial bodies. As a result, the strength of those sects is rapidly expanding, and the speed of their development is much faster than before. Our Kai family is the descendant of the Ice Phoenix. Our true spirit bloodline is famous in Xiaoyu continent. We should be standing at the forefront during this turbulent time. How can you be so short-sighted? Chapter 2990. Due to various historical reasons, our Kai family has split up quite a bit. Kai Yang also tried to persuade him. And your Kai family of Luoyang is one of the bigger branches. If you all move back to Qingyang, our Kai family's power will definitely increase by a lot. In particular, our Kai family of Qingyang will also be open to the Kai family of Luoyang. This is killing two birds with one stone. It's also something that I've discussed with the elders for a long time. You can't do this for your own selfish reasons. Patriarch Qingyang. Without waiting for Kai Yang to finish, Kai Shansong immediately said, "You may mean well, but our Kai family of Luyang has lived here for thousands of years and is already used to the scenery here. Before the Kai family of Qingyang, our Kai family of Luyang developed extremely well. In the future, all the disciples of the Kai family of Luyang also feel that we can live better with our own strength. So." At this point, Kai Shansong dragged his voice and said, "All the disciples of the Kai family of Luyang have unanimously agreed to stay in Luyang. This is not the decision of the patriarch of the Kai family of Luyang alone." "How dare you?" Kai Hongfeng scolded. "Kai Shansong, what right do you have to speak here?" Kai Shansong gritted his teeth and lowered his head slightly, suppressing his rebuttal. "Haisong, the benefits of having all the disciples of the Kai family in one place far outweigh the disadvantages. I've already explained the details in the jade slip I gave you earlier. If the Kai family of Qingyang and the Kai family of Luyang work together, it'll be 2 wins and 2 losses. You must consider this carefully." Kai Yang looked at Kai Haisong, Kai Shansong, and the others and continued to persuade earnestly. "Patriarch Qingyang, please understand." Kai Haisong bit his lip and continued to shake his head. "The Kai family of Luyang has been separated from the Kai family of Qingyuan for too long. How can we move just like that? This matter needs to be considered in the long run." "Kai Haisong." Kai Hongfeng's face paled again. He said coldly, "This matter has already been unanimously approved by the elders of the Kai family. If your Kai family of Luyang is still a branch of the Kai family of Qingyuan, you must listen to the arrangements of the Kai family of Qingyuan." "Patriarch, this matter is too complicated. It needs to be considered in the long run." Kai Haisong hurriedly cried out. "Haisong, you've really disappointed me. This last chance has slipped away from your hands. Don't blame me for punishing you." Kai Yang let out a long sigh. He looked at Fairy Xianxia, whose expression was not good, and said, "Now, in front of the disciples of the Kai family of the Huanhua sect, I will let her know that some of my decisions are not made without thinking. They are not made on a whim." As he spoke, Kai Yang clapped his hands and took out a token similar to the Phoenix token. He raised it high above his head and shouted, "Luyang's Kai family's Kai Haisong refuses to accept the decision of the Kai family's elder council. He doesn't place the Kai family's future in his eyes and only considers his own personal interests. He is no longer able to convince the masses and is no longer qualified to lead the Kai family of Luyang. Now, I request the Kai family's Phoenix token to remove Kai Haisong from the position of Luyang's Kai family's patriarch and hand it over to Luyang's Kai family's Kai Shansong. All Kai family disciples, listen up." Phoenix token? When Xiao Hua saw the Phoenix token in Kai Yang's hand, he couldn't help but look at Fairy Hongxia. However, Fairy Hongxia was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She still didn't take out the Phoenix token that she had inherited from the Phoenix inheritance. Not only that, the Phoenix mark between her eyebrows had been hidden by her at some point. "Patriarch!" Just as Xiao Hua looked at Fairy Hongxia, Kai Shansong shouted, "Big brother is the true patriarch of the Kai family. This junior's talent is shallow and cannot be compared to Big brother. This junior cannot take over the position of patriarch of the Kai family." "Humph! How can the position of patriarch of the Kai family of Luyang be decided by the likes of you? Our Kai family's elder council has already made a decision and there is no reason to change it. Kai Shansong, you have to accept it even if you don't want to." As Kai Yang spoke, he looked around and saw that the disciples of the Kai family of Luyang were all indignant. He raised the Phoenix token in his hand and said, "This is our Kai family's Phoenix token. As a disciple of the Kai family and a descendant of the Ice Phoenix bloodline, seeing this token is like seeing our ancestors. Who is dissatisfied? Kneel." Suddenly, a clear phoenix cry sounded from the Phoenix token. Immediately, a phoenix celestial body flew out from Kai Yang's body. A powerful aura was emitted from the Phoenix token as Kai Yang let out a thunderous roar. Plop plop. Several disciples in the 7th stage of Qi refining could not resist the power of the Phoenix token and involuntarily knelt on the ground. Which Kai family disciple dares to disobey the Phoenix token? All of you kneel. Kai Hongfeng shouted. However, following Kai Hongfeng's voice, An even more furious and shrill voice came from Fairy Xia's mouth. Xiaohua, do you still want to enter my Kai family? Xiaohua was taken aback. He had originally thought that Fairy Xia would release her own Ice Phoenix Dharma body, but he hadn't expected that Fairy Xia would be so meticulous. She didn't give Qingyang Kai family any leverage at all, and actually let him take action. Since his wife had spoken, what else did Xiaohua have to worry about? Xiaohua let out a hee-hee, and smacked his forehead with his hand. Wang! A huge gust of wind whistled out from Xiaohua's body, and a wave of pressure several times stronger than the Phoenix token was emitted at the same time. Moreover, as Xiaohua brushed his hand away from his forehead, the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth instantly gathered, and a huge palm was born in midair. With a thunderous momentum, it grabbed at the 30-meter-tall Phoenix Dharma body. This is probably the nascent soul stage. Xiaohua's pressure swept across the area. All the Kai family disciples, including Kai Yang and Kai Hongfeng, immediately froze. They could not even move their little fingers. In particular, a kind of fear came from the bottom of their hearts. It was almost an instinctive feeling. They all let out the same groan from the bottom of their hearts. When Xiaohua's nascent soul hand appeared, a power that could control heaven and earth was released from the nascent soul hand. It firmly grasped Kai Yang's Phoenix celestial body and Kai Hongfeng's physical body. A kind of incomparable shock emerged from the Kai family's hearts. They almost could not believe that Xiaohua, who was only at the middle foundation establishment stage, suddenly became a nascent soul stage Xiaohua. Wu Ming! Kai Yang suddenly woke up and his face changed dramatically. Kacha! Kai Yang's Phoenix celestial body, which was not very clear to begin with, was quickly destroyed. Pieces of it cracked and slowly sank into Kai Yang's physical body. Do you want to live or die? Xiaohua laughed sinisterly. The nascent soul hand fell and grabbed the two arrogant foundation establishment stage cultivators in his hand. It was as if he was holding two little chicks. Humph! Fairy Xianxia sneered. She did not answer. Instead she said, "This is what fellow Taoist Xiao did. It has nothing to do with the Kai family of Luyang. Their life and death is up to fellow Taoist Xiao." Senior Xiao. Kai Haisong hurriedly called out from the side. Family head Kai Yang was thinking of the Kai family bloodline. Although this action was a bit reckless, but his intention was not wrong. Senior, please be magnanimous and don't hurt the family head of Kai family. Humph! Xiaohua snorted coldly and scolded. Kai Yang, did you hear that clearly? If the family head of Kai family of Luyang did not plead for you, I would definitely take your life. Today's matter is my doing. If you want to find trouble with me, you can come to the Imperial Thunder Sect. I will welcome you at any time. Moreover, you must keep today's matter a secret. If I find out that my secret was discovered, I will definitely kill my way to the Kai family of Luyang. Scram. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua waved his sleeve and threw out his nascent soul hand. He didn't wait for Kai Yang and Kai Hongfeng to speak and threw them into the air. In a moment, they disappeared without a trace. The Phoenix token that fell into the air turned into a shooting star and chased after them. Xiaohua looked at the Phoenix token that he did not know if was real or fake. He did not stop them and waved his sleeves again. The nascent soul's hand disappeared and he slowly descended from the air. Silence. Silence. Incomparable silence. All the Kai family disciples, including Kai Haisong, did not dare to breathe loudly as they looked at Xiaohua carefully. Whether it was Nameless or a nascent soul grandmaster, they were all characters that the Kai family disciples did not dare to imagine. None of them could wake up from this contrast. That's right. Just now, an hour ago, other than Kai Haisong, everyone was secretly complaining that Fairy Xia did not capture Li Zongbao. But after an hour, Xiaohua revealed his strength and easily captured Kai Yang, who was in the late foundation establishment stage, and Kai Hongfeng, who was in the middle foundation establishment stage. Who would dare to look down on Fairy Xia? Who would dare to look down on Xiaohua, a small rogue cultivator who came to Luyang's Kai family several decades ago? Only 40 years? Or 50 years? Kai Haisong was shocked, but he slowly came to his senses. An incomparable feeling welled up in his heart. I've only cultivated from the 10th layer of qi refining to the early stage of foundation establishment, And yet I feel so proud and self-satisfied. After all, it's been a long time since a Foundation establishment patriarch has appeared in the Kai clan. But, compared to this Xianxia, I's days have been lived like a dog's body. That day, he was only at the 4th level of Qi refining. Today, he is actually a nascent soul grandmaster. All the cultivators below the golden core stage in the 3 cultivation countries have lived like a dog's body. The first stage of the Great War of Sword Dao is based on the golden core stage. Xianxia is a nascent soul stage cultivator. In the Great War of Sword Dao, who would be his opponent? This Li Zongbao, who is known as the #1 cultivator below the golden core stage, would probably follow Xianxia's lead. With him, the discussion hall's first team would naturally be able to achieve outstanding merits. That Qin Jian, who is at the 3rd level of the sword transformation stage, would naturally be killed by him. All the merits of the discussion hall's first team were obtained by Xianxia alone. Everyone in the Dao sect guessed that the answer to the mystery lies with Xianxia alone. Li Zongbao, who is the center of attention, is only a puppet, a shield in front of Xianxia. All the unimaginable merits of the discussion hall's first team. There is only one truth. Chapter 2991. Senior Xiao. Kai Haisong stuttered, not knowing how to address him. After regaining his senses, he hurriedly bowed respectfully. Earlier we were too slow. At the same time, all the Kai family disciples regained their senses and bowed, all of them wanting to address Xianxia as senior. Xianxia's methods towards others were like thunderbolts, but towards Fairy Hongxia's family, how could he dare to show the slightest bit of negligence? He hurriedly flicked his sleeves, and a powerful force was generated, holding everyone back. He rushed towards Kai Haisong and said anxiously, "Senior Kai, will you still allow me to enter the Kai family in the future?" Fairy Hongxia, who was standing at the side, immediately laughed out loud. She was also filled with hatred just now, but she could not directly contend with the Kai family head, so she asked Xianxia to help. She was supposed to transmit her voice, but in her extreme anger, she forgot to do so. Hearing Xianxia's aggrieved cry, her face was flushed red, and her eyes were filled with pride. "Oh, yes." Kai Haisong was also bursting with joy. With such a nascent soul-stage son-in-law in Liu Yang's Kai family, let alone the Qingyang Kai family, in the entire country of Shi No, in the entire 3 kingdoms of cultivation, who would dare to challenge Liu Yang's Kai family? "Father, don't bow to him." Fairy Hongxia curled her lips and said, "His nascent soul stage cultivation is just a bluff. It's just a golden core stage cultivation. But when he brings out his nascent soul stage spiritual sense, it can scare others. He really is a nascent soul stage cultivator." Everyone suddenly understood. Fairy Hongxia's words were a little too obvious. How could others believe it? They only thought that she was being modest. Even if he's a golden core stage cultivator, this old man can't compare to him. Kai Haisong said with a smile, "Come, Xiao. Calling me Xiaohua is enough." Xiaohua smiled tactfully. Xiaohua, this isn't the first time you've come to my Kai family. Last time, this old man already treated you rudely. Today, I won't dare to do it again." Kai Haisong really wanted to praise Li Zongbao, but when the words reached the tip of his tongue, he felt that they wouldn't be appropriate, so he could only force himself to swallow them back. After a few simple words, he turned to Li Zongbao and said, "Fellow Taoist Li, this is your first time visiting our Kai family. Although we didn't open our doors to welcome fellow Taoist Li, by a freak combination of factors, we did so to welcome fellow Taoist Li to our Kai family. Fellow Taoist Li, please." "Senior Kai, you're too courteous." Li Zongbao's words stunned Kai Haisong, but what happened next confused Kai Haisong even more. Because Xiaohua had already revealed his cultivation base, in accordance with the etiquette of the 3 kingdoms of cultivation, Xiaohua should have walked in front of Li Zongbao. Although Li Zongbao had received Kai Haisong's invitation, this invitation came after Xiaohua's, so he naturally didn't move. Instead, he waited for Xiaohua to walk first. However, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Senior brother Li, now that we're home, if we're talking about etiquette, senior brother should still go first." Li Zongbao's tense face revealed a trace of unnaturalness, but he didn't refute. He walked in front of Xiaohua while Xiaohua followed behind him. "We're home?" Talking about etiquette? Kai Haisong really couldn't make sense of it, but he suddenly remembered what Fairy Xianxia wanted to say to him before Kai Yang arrived. He turned to look at Fairy Xianxia. Let's talk inside. When Fairy Xianxia saw the rare joy in the Kai family, or rather the jubilant atmosphere, she felt a little miserable in her heart. It was as if there was one less person to stick a dogwood in all the places. Kai Haisong nodded and invited Fairy Xianxia to lead the way. Then, he led his clan brothers and followed behind. The Kai family's guest hall had been completely renovated and was much larger than before. Xiao Hua and the others sat in the guest seats, accompanied by Kai Haisong and several other Kai Family Foundation establishment cultivators. There were also a dozen 11th-layer Qi refinement disciples standing below them. It didn't seem crowded at all. It was obvious how fast the Kai family had developed over the past few decades. A few pretty Qi refinement cultivators deftly served spiritual tea and spiritual fruits. Every disciple stole glances at Xiao Hua, then winked at Fairy Xianxia and left with a smile. Even the Qi refinement cultivators standing in wait stared at Xiao Hua without blinking. Not every Kai family disciple had seen a nascent soul cultivator before. Xiao Hua was the first nascent soul cultivator they had seen in their lives. What's more, this nascent soul cultivator was their future relative. Fellow Taoist Li, please have some tea. Xiao Hua, please have some tea. Since Xiao Hua allowed Li Zongbao to enter the Kai family first, Kai Haisong put Li Zongbao's name first even though he didn't understand why. Please, Li Zongbao knew this was a necessary etiquette. Although he was a little anxious, he had to wait. With Xiao Hua, this so-called brother-in-law, he couldn't lose face in the eyes of the Kai family. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Kai Haisong knew Fairy Xianxia and the others didn't just return to Luoyang to visit, so he didn't say anything else. He didn't even mention the battle between Dao and Sword. He said, Xianxia, what did you say just now? Jun, let the Qi refinement cultivators leave. We have something important to discuss. Fairy Xianxia commanded without any trace of politeness. Also, prepare a family banquet. Make it clear that no one is allowed to come within 100 feet of the guest hall. Yes, little brother understands. Kai Jun didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly got up and ordered the disciples to leave. Although the Qi refinement cultivators were a little reluctant, when they thought about how their master had something important to do and how they could get closer to a nascent soul cultivator during the family banquet later, they happily left. After the Qi refinement cultivators left, Kai Jun and Kai Hongxing whispered again, Elder sister, do we need to leave? You're the candidates for the next patriarch of our Kai family. This is our family's housework, so you don't need to leave. Fairy Xianxia looked at Kai Haisong and gave her instructions very naturally. In fact, she had already done this long before she left Luoyang and joined Huanhua sect. Today, she returned to the Kai family with a cultivation base in the late stage of the foundation building realm, so no one felt that it was inappropriate. Yes, Kai Jun and Kai Hongxing sat down obediently. They lowered their heads and looked down, leaving only their ears exposed. Father, it's like this. Fairy Xianxia glanced at the curious gazes of Kai Haisong and the others. She took a deep breath and told them about the matter between Kai Wuxia and Li Zongbao. She also told them about the result of using the Netherlink mirror during their trip to Mount Wan. Finally, she said to the stunned crowd who couldn't believe their ears, So, I brought senior brother Li and Xiao Hua back in a hurry, wanting to see elder sister's grave. How is this possible? After a long while, Kai Haisong rubbed his eyes and said with a hint of sadness, Back then, Wuxia's corpse was sent by Xiao Hua, and we also examined it. Big brother, Kai Shansong said anxiously, Hongxia and Zongbao have already gone to Mount Wan. Even the soul cultivators there said that Wuxia isn't dead, so she's definitely not dead. What are we waiting for? Let's go and take a look. At this time, Kai Haisong was startled, and he jumped up from the jade chair with a bang. Today had given him a lot of stimulation. Not to mention that Xiao Hua was Fairy Xia's lover, not to mention that Xiao Hua had actually become a gold core cultivator, and not to mention that Li Zongbao had actually also become his son-in-law. Just the fact that Kai Wuxia was still alive was something that he had never dreamed of. He was really numb. He said, That's right, Hongxia. We'll go to the grave now. The second one to jump up was naturally Li Zongbao. He had been waiting for a long time and had been enduring, challenging his limits. Now that he heard Kai Haisong's order, he could no longer hold back. Kai Fengsong and the others looked at Li Zongbao curiously. They really wanted to know how this young and handsome man, who was famous throughout the cultivation world, knew Wuxia, and how he had been thinking about the dead Wuxia for so many years. This was absolutely unimaginable in the cultivation world. However, when they saw Li Zongbao get up, they hurriedly followed him. Even if he was the son-in-law of the Kai clan, he was still a late-stage foundation establishment senior. The Kai family's burial mound was on the other side of Yang Cauldron Mountain. It was a place that was surrounded by mountains and rivers. Rows of willow trees grew luxuriantly, and thousands of willow branches swayed in the wind as they streaked across the sky. A tranquil and serene aura filled the entire valley. When they were less than a mile away from the green tiles and white walls, Kai Haisong descended from the sky and said apologetically, "Zongbao, Xiaohua, my Kai clan has a rule. Everyone who is going to the grave can't fly directly to the entrance. They can only walk for this last mile." "Very good." Li Zongbao nodded and didn't say anything else. He just lowered his head and hurried on. Xiaohua echoed, "In addition, we can't even use divine sense." Hee, Xiaohua is right. However, my Kai clan didn't have many foundation establishment disciples before. We didn't even have a 12th layer qi refinement cultivator. How could we have thought of using divine sense? Kai Haisong replied awkwardly. Indeed. Xiaohua scratched his head. He was very embarrassed that his words had embarrassed the Kai clan head. When they were about 100 feet away from the grave's white walls and black doors, 2 Kai clan disciples around the 3rd layer of qi refinement hurriedly walked out from a side door. Both of them looked to be in their 30s. One of them was a male cultivator who looked rather spirited. The other was a female cultivator. Her appearance was still charming and her figure could be considered enchanting. However, her waist was already a little too fat. The 2 of them should be the disciples guarding the grave. They had just received the news and came to serve them. However, the 2 of them stood respectfully. When Kai Haisong and the others approached, the male cultivator respectfully saluted while the female cultivator stood there in a daze. She stared straight at the approaching Xiaohua and even forgot to salute. The male cultivator was greatly alarmed. He hastily pulled the female cultivator's clothes and indicated for her to salute. Only then did the female cultivator grit her teeth and lower her head. Xiaohua naturally sensed that he was being stared at. However, he frowned and looked at the female cultivator. Her appearance was unfamiliar. He didn't seem to recognize her. Chapter 2992. Xiaohua thought about how he had visited the Kai family before. Perhaps he had seen them before, so he didn't mind. However, when the 2 greeted Kai Haisong, he suddenly realized. Because the female cultivator called herself Kai Mei, if he wasn't mistaken, she was the little girl who had brought him to the Kai family at that time, Mei Er. Kai Haisong didn't care about this. After the 2 greeted each other, he ordered the door to the spirit tomb to open. Xiaohua asked, "Are you that Mei Er? Big brother Immortal?" Kai Mei was pleasantly surprised. She bowed again. "I didn't expect that big brother would still remember Mei Er." Alas. Xiaohua sighed. He looked at the somewhat plump woman in front of him. If she hadn't cultivated to the 3rd layer of qi refining, and if she hadn't been born into a cultivation family, she would have already become one of the most plump people in the secular world. That childish, crisp voice, that little girl who had walked out from behind the stone sculpture in the distance, that thin and weak figure, and that pair of big black eyes, they had all been eaten by dogs. Although those big eyes still had some shadows of the past when he looked at them carefully, it was just that. Those originally clear and pure eyes had now been polluted by the secular world. They were full of flattery and expectation, making Xiaohua feel inexplicably disappointed. "Your grandfather." Although Xiaohua knew the ending, he still couldn't help but want to ask the unworldly expert who wasn't an unworldly expert. "Thank you, Big Brother Immortal, for still remembering grandfather." Kai Mei's face was mournful. Although grandfather took Big Brother's elixir, his body was already empty. He passed away 20 years ago. Everyone has to die in this life. Your grandfather was able to do so much for Lu Yang, so he can already rest in peace. Xiaohua nodded. Then, he saw that the male cultivator had already opened the black door and was about to leave. However, he still asked casually, Mei, are you doing well in the Kai family? Very well. Kai Mei was a bit hesitant. She timidly glanced at Kai Haisong and said, But if Big Brother Immortal and the family head are old friends, can you let me change jobs with my husband? Xiaohua was stunned, but he immediately smiled and said, I will ask Senior Kai at this time. Thank you, Big Brother Immortal. This concubine will lead the way for Gidge. Kai Mei smiled and hurriedly accompanied Xiaohua into the tomb. But Xiaohua waved his hand and said, No need. Mei, you and your husband wait outside the tomb. Yes, this concubine understands. Kai Mei was very clever. She lowered her head and stayed where she was. Seeing Xiaohua talking to Kai Mei, how could Kai Haisong ignore it? He had already asked Kai Haisong and the others who were in charge of the manor's affairs. After entering the tomb, Kai Haisong hurriedly told him about Kai Mei. After hearing Kai Haisong's detailed explanation, Xiaohua couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. There is immortal fate in this world, but not everyone who obtains immortal fate. Many can become immortals. Humans were humans, and immortals were immortals. Why must they allow those who could not become immortals to become immortals? This is the Kai family's business. I have no right to interfere. It was no wonder that Xiaohua sighed. That day, Xiaohua gave Mei a few spiritual pills and entrusted her to the Kai family. The Kai family was also honest and didn't covet those spiritual pills. Moreover, they even took Mei into the Kai family and changed her name to Kai Mei. However, although Kai Mei was handsome, her cultivation aptitude was really limited. After dozens of years, she only cultivated to the third layer of qi refining. This wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that Kai Mei's character wasn't good. She was especially vain, or perhaps she didn't come from a good family. When she entered the Kai family, she felt an indescribable inferiority from the bottom of her heart. But what could a female cultivator do in front of these natural shortcomings? Her blind grandfather couldn't help her at all. After Kai Mei became an adult, she used her beauty to exchange for a position in the Kai family. The reason why Kai Mei and her husband were sent to guard the tomb was because they were jealous of each other's affection. Originally, they were going to be expelled from the Kai family, but this Kai Mei was also obedient. She hurriedly admitted her crime and chose to marry her current husband. This was the last chance to stay in the Kai family. This was what Xiaohua sighed about. Not every beautiful and cute little girl would grow up to be a pretty beauty. There was also a possibility that she would grow up to be a fat ant. And the possibility was very high. However, when everyone filed in and passed through the black door, they saw many neatly repaired small tombs. In front of each tomb, there were a few faint, extremely elegant Xiaohua flowers. Moreover, in front of each tomb, there was a willow branch as thick as a little finger placed on top of the tombs. Looking at the creases under the branches, it was obvious that they were recently broken. Good, Zongbao and Xiaohua understand. Kai Haisong had just stepped into the tomb when he glanced at the tombs and explained, Our Kai family of Luyang is only a cultivation family. We are inferior to ordinary cultivation families. Even though there is a public memorial hall for the ancestors, not all of the deceased can be preserved. Therefore, almost all of the deceased are buried in the ground, just like the people of the secular world. Perhaps there is a hint of poverty. Xiaohua knew that Li Zongbao wouldn't answer, so he continued, Earth to earth, dust to dust. Ordinary people talk about being buried in peace. This is the principle. The Kai family's actions are also normal. It can't be considered as poverty. After Kai Haisong finished his explanation, he looked at the tombs again. As far as his eyes could see, all of the tombs were as clean as before. He knew clearly that the communication talisman had just been sent out. It was impossible for Kai Mei and her husband to have made such preparations in advance. This could only mean that Kai Mei and her husband were usually very meticulous. Kai Haisong sighed. A pitiful person must have a detestable side. However, if a prodigal son returns to his old ways, I won't exchange him for a top-grade spirit stone. Senior's words are extremely true. Xiaohua nodded. The heavenly Tao is merciful. It will always leave a glimmer of hope in a desperate situation. As long as you have the heart, you will always be able to find a way to survive. Yes. Kai Haisong was startled. Xiao Hua's words were very grand. Moreover, he didn't dare to underestimate him. After all, this was the understanding of a golden core cultivator. However, if he was asked to think deeper, he couldn't. Just as Kai Haisong was frowning in thought, everyone had already arrived at a slightly remote corner under Kai Haisong's lead. A small drum that was no different from the one they had seen before appeared before everyone's eyes. Alas, no matter how much power and wealth one had when they were alive, when it comes to birth, old age, sickness and death, everything is just fleeting clouds. Life can't be brought. Death can't be taken away. If you can't build a tomb in the hearts of others, then you can only build a tomb in the wilderness. In this vast world, I'm afraid that there is only a few feet of space that belongs to me. When Xiao Hua saw this small tomb, he immediately thought of Kai Wuxia's voice and smile from before, as well as the various experiences of the two people. He couldn't help but ponder in his heart. Looking at Li Zongbao, he was also biting his lips. His body couldn't help but surge with mana. His Taoist robe fluttered in the wind, and even his clenched hands were trembling. After thinking about it for decades, now that the mystery was about to be revealed, even someone as strong as Li Zongbao couldn't help but feel agitated in his heart. It's better to let Kai Quan do it. Kai Haisong looked at the clean tomb. The tombstone in front of the tomb was still engraved with the words, "The tomb of beloved daughter Wuxia." He couldn't help but feel a little sad. He knew that although he and the others were Foundation establishment cultivators, if they wanted to take out Kai Wuxia's bluestone coffin intact, they had to let Kai Quan and the others, who were guarding the tomb, do it. No need, Junior will try. Xiao Hua waved his hand, stopping Kai Haisong's transmission. Then, without waiting for Fairy Xianxia and the others to ask more, he made a gesture and his whole body flashed with a yellow brilliance and disappeared into the ground. 5 elements escape technique? When Xiao Hua escaped from Kai Hongfeng's hands, he used the Earth Escape Talisman in front of Kai Haisong. How could Kai Haisong not be familiar with it? However, the Earth Escape technique, which was a consummate skill for escaping before, was now nothing in the hands of Xiao Hua. Just a thought flashed through Kai Haisong's mind, and he felt the ground under his feet suddenly shake. Then, he saw the small tomb quickly split open, like a flower blooming. All the soil was cut off from the tomb, and a bluestone coffin covered with dark green soil slowly rose from the ground. When Xiao Hua's figure appeared from under the bluestone coffin, Kai Haisong couldn't help but groan, "This guy's strength is too great." The bluestone coffin was not too heavy, but it couldn't be buried deep. Even if Kai Haisong used his mana, he wouldn't be able to take out the coffin so easily. Xiao Hua flew to the side of the deep pit and carefully placed the bluestone coffin on the ground. However, on this bluestone coffin, the yellow talisman stuck to it had long decayed, leaving only a trace of yellow paper stuck to the black soil. When divine thought swept over it, there was no fluctuation of mana. Seeing this, Xiao Hua knew in his heart that if the coffin was Kai Wuxia's corpse, it must be white bones now. Immediately, Xiao Hua looked at it again, stretched out his hand, grabbed the fist-sized nail on the coffin, and pulled it out easily. More than a foot long, 8 fist-sized nails were easily pulled out by him. Just when he reached out to open the coffin, Li Zongbao's voice came, "Junior brother Xiao, let me do it personally." Okay. Xiao Hua replied and immediately retracted his hand, standing at the side and looking at Li Zongbao. Li Zongbao took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and seemed to be calming himself down. Then he took 2 steps forward, bent down, and touched the bluestone coffin with both hands. The mana in his body surged slightly, and 2 muffled sounds were heard. It was the sound of the coffin hitting each other, and the bluestone coffin was opened a crack. The mountain peak blew past, and from the crack of the coffin, there was no stench. Xiao Hua's eyes lit up, and like everyone else, he was ecstatic. What is going on? However, when Li Zongbao opened the coffin lid and saw everything inside, he couldn't help but be surprised. Hearing Li Zongbao's shock, Fairy Xianxia and the others also took a step forward and took a look. They couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Chapter 2993. Although it was not a skeleton lying in the coffin, it was definitely not Kai Wuxia's remains. Instead, it was a male cultivator whose face could not be seen clearly. However, this male cultivator had an extremely long beard and looked like an old man. Ouch! Xiaohua saw it clearly and immediately exclaimed, because he saw that this male cultivator was wearing a slightly rotten robe from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Senior Brother Li, please have mercy, this is Qian Qinghua. Qian Qinghua is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Qian Qinghua? Li Zongbao's spiritual power surged. When he heard Fairy Xianxia and the other surprise, he knew that this person was not a disciple of the Kai family. He was already angry and wanted to destroy this person. However, after hearing Xiaohua's words, he noticed that Qian Qinghua was wearing the Imperial Thunder Sect's robe. Then Li Zongbao snorted and shook his hand. When his spiritual power reached out, the blue stone lid immediately turned into powder and fell on Qian Qinghua's body layer by layer. Xiaohua did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly took out the token that Qian Qinghua gave him and shook his hand. Sure enough, the token hovered in the air a few times and suddenly fell into the coffin. Alas! Xiaohua confirmed Qian Qinghua's identity and smiled bitterly. The Imperial Thunder Sect had spent a lot of effort and time to find Qian Qinghua, but no one expected that Qian Qinghua would run into Kai Zhuoxia's coffin. Thinking of this, Xiaohua was shocked again. He hurriedly stretched out his hand and immediately pulled Qian Qinghua out of the coffin. Fortunately, there was only Qian Qinghua and no trace of Kai Zhuoxia. At this moment, Xiaohua was relieved and thought to himself, fortunately, if this guy stayed in the coffin with Kai Zhuoxia for dozens of years, even if Senior Brother Li did not say anything, the Kai family would not let this guy go. This guy has some karma with me, which makes things difficult for me. After thinking for a moment, Xiaohua said, Senior Kai, this guy is a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. I will take him away. Seeing that Xiaohua recognized Qian Qinghua, Kai Haisong suddenly remembered that when Xiaohua just left the Kai family, Xianghua sect's disciples came to visit him. How could he not know the danger? He hurriedly nodded and said, Nephew, everything is up to you. I don't know anything. Xiaohua shook his hand and put the Qian green flame back into the soul nest. Then, he looked at the ground that he had just dug up and complained in his heart. If Qian Qinghua was in Kai Zhuoxia's coffin, then where did Kai Zhuoxia go? Qian Qinghua would never move Kai Zhuoxia into another coffin. Then, Kai Zhuoxia must be near the green stone coffin. He only cared about taking out the coffin and didn't pay attention to the bones nearby. Even if Kai Zhuoxia's corpse was intact, his reckless action just now might have caused some damage to Kai Zhuoxia's corpse. Junior will go down and take a look. Xiaohua sighed. He looked at Fairy Xianxia, whose face was also not good, and said to Kai Haisong, N. Kai Haisong reflexively nodded his head. Xiaohua, this son-in-law, was really too capable. All he could do was nod his head. When Xiaohua entered the ground, everyone's gaze was fixed on the ground, quietly waiting for the result. In less than half a cup of tea's time, Xiaohua's figure escaped from the wall of the pit. However, when everyone saw Xiaohua's empty hands, their hearts turned cold. Li Zongbao's heart was even more empty. It was as if his heart had been hollowed out and there was no trace of it. Junior found it. Xiaohua's figure flew out and hurriedly shouted. Then, he waved his hand and took out a crystal coffin and placed it in front of Li Zongbao. Then, under Li Zongbao's eyes, he carefully took out a corpse covered in mud from the soul nest. Although the corpse was covered in mud, the face had been simply wiped away, revealing a face that was similar to Fairy Xia's. The thin eyebrows and long eyelashes were still there. It looked like she was still in a deep sleep when she was just placed in the coffin. Sister! Fairy Xianxia couldn't help but call out. Xiaohua awkwardly reached out his hand and took out a stick of mud. This is Zhuoxia's right arm. Junior! Junior! Ah! Before Kai Haisong could say anything, Li Zongbao, who had been staring at Kai Zhuoxia's face, saw Kai Zhuoxia's severed arm and couldn't help but stretch his neck and howl. Not only was his howl filled with sorrow, it was also filled with surprise and even deep anticipation. Xiaohua and Fairy Xianxia didn't feel anything, but Kai Haisong and the rest were pale. They hurriedly covered their ears and crouched down, as if they couldn't resist the power of Li Zongbao's howl. Xiaohua frowned slightly. Just as he was about to activate his magic power to protect everyone, Li Zongbao's body suddenly flashed with brilliance. His magic power rippled out like overflowing boiling water. At the same time, a strong pressure was generated from Li Zongbao's head and rushed straight to the sky. The wind and clouds in the sky changed rapidly and countless black clouds surged. Looking at the surroundings, a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy rushed over crazily. Bits of crystals appeared nearby. Li Zongbao has condensed his core. Xiaohua came to a realization. He knew that the reason why Li Zongbao couldn't condense his core was because of Kai Wuxia. Today, when he saw Kai Wuxia's corpse, although he didn't know if she was alive or dead, he was overjoyed after seeing her corpse. The damage to her corpse made him feel sad. In between joy and sadness, he suddenly realized something and achieved the opportunity to condense his golden core. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Li Zongbao's neck amidst the heavenly pressure of condensing his core. Then, without caring about the taboo of the Kai family's burial mound, lightning flashed around him and he rushed up Yang Cauldron Mountain like a thunderbolt. Although Li Zongbao went, the pressure from Yang Cauldron Mountain enveloped Lu Yang's Kai family and a small part of Lu Yang for more than 20 days. Although it was only a few weeks, the entire Lu Yang town was in complete chaos. Not to mention the specks of crystals that were strangely suspended in mid-air and were more crystalline than common snowflakes, and not to mention the hurricane formed by the heaven and earth spiritual energy that blew everything away. Just the pressure of Li Zongbao's golden core was enough to throw the entire secular world into chaos. In a corner of Lu Yang near Yang Cauldron Mountain, within a range of about 3 to 5 miles, all animals, humans, and beasts were paralyzed on the ground. None of them could move. Within this range, everyone's hearts were more or less under an incomparable pressure. The feeling of being unable to control life and death filled their minds. Although it was only 2 days later, Xiaohua, who had come to his senses, hurriedly flew down from Yang Cauldron Mountain and quickly moved the secular people away from Li Zongbao's pressure. However, the impact was huge. Not to mention people who understood the true meaning of life in the midst of life and death. Couples who had broken up with each other were reunited. Not to mention unfilial children who woke up to filial piety under the heavy burden and turned over a new leaf. Not to mention the rascals in Luoyang who thought that the gods had descended and turned over a new leaf. Many young children were born with the Tao. It was also a huge change in their lives. Fortunately, the range of Li Zongbao's divine sense was only 20 to 30 miles and he was condensing his core on Yang Cauldron Mountain. His divine sense only covered a small corner of Luoyang. If Xiaohua had condensed his core, the entire Luoyang town would have been covered. The secular people would have nowhere to run even if they wanted to. After Xiaohua moved the secular people who were affected by the divine sense to a safe place, he sighed. Damn it, no wonder cultivators have to advance in places where there are few people. It's not only because the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is abundant there, but also because it doesn't affect others. Then, Xiaohua hurried back to the Kai family. Although the secular people were affected by Li Zongbao's pressure, they did not need to cultivate after all. Their Tao hearts and Tao foundations would not be affected. However, most of the disciples of the Kai family were cultivators. It was inevitable that their cultivation would be damaged after being under the pressure of a golden core cultivator for a long time. Sure enough, when Xiaohua entered the Kai family, other than Fairy Xianxia, who was in a slightly better condition, Kai Haisong and the other foundation establishment cultivators were scattered in the spirit tomb. It was as if they had not moved at all after Xiaohua left with Li Zongbao. Xiaohua asked Fairy Xianxia briefly, and immediately flew to the largest meeting hall in the Kai family. Not only did he activate the array formation of the meeting hall, he also set down the jade talismans of the capital star array. Kai Haisong and the rest, as well as the disciples of the Kai family who were paralyzed, were sent into the meeting hall. After doing all this, Xiaohua saw that there was nothing left behind. Then, he returned to the Yang Cauldron Mountain to guard Li Zongbao's core condensation. On the 30th day, the oppressive pressure that made it hard for people to breathe slowly weakened. The crystal bead that had been floating dozens of miles away was thrown into the thick whirlpool under the black clouds above the Yang Cauldron Mountain. Seeing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth condense into a whirlpool above Li Zongbao's head, Xiaohua secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that Li Zongbao had no problems condensing his core condensation. However, he immediately had the urge to jump up and curse. Damn it, why is it so difficult for me to condense my core condensation? Not only do I need dozens of times more spiritual energy of heaven and earth than Li Zongbao, there's also a lightning tribulation. There are actually 3 lightning tribulations. How can I live like this? After cursing, Xiaohua released his Buddhist perception to see that Kai Jia and Lu Yang were gradually recovering. He immediately closed his eyes to meditate. After all, everyone's core condensation was different. The celestial phenomena were also different. The heavenly Tao revealed was also different. Xiaohua was fated to see Li Zongbao condense his core condensation, so he could see the wonders of the parting love treasure mirror and the ruthlessness of the heavenly Tao. After dozens of days, the dark clouds that had been pressing down on the Yang Cauldron Mountains slowly dissipated. A ray of sunlight that was like a sharp sword shot out from the clouds and shone on Li Zongbao's body. His snow-white hair refracted bits of golden light, and an indescribable power was emitted from his body. Li Zongbao slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were completely pale, and there was no trace of black in them. A kind of coldness, mercilessness, and austere aura emerged from his pale eyes, causing one's heart to turn cold. In just a few breaths, a little blackness was born in this paleness. It was like the rare moonlight in the night sky, and it immediately dispelled the desolation. Gradually, the emotions of joy, anger, sorrow, and joy slowly appeared along with the appearance of the black pupils. Chapter 2994. Senior Brother Li? Xiaohua saw Li Zongbao the moment he opened his eyes. He could clearly see the ruthlessness in Li Zongbao's eyes. At this moment, he slowly got up and walked over. Xiaohua. Li Zongbao glanced at Xiaohua. His eyes were as sharp as lightning. The first thing he said was, "Is Wuxia dead or alive?" "I'll let Senior Brother Li know." Xiaohua smiled bitterly. "Once you release your aura of condensing your core, other than me, who else can move? I'm here to protect you. I really don't know if Kai Wuxia is dead or alive." Li Zongbao snorted and released his spiritual sense. Without calling Xiaohua, he flew down from the Yang Cauldron Mountain. Xiaohua smacked his lips and looked at the unfamiliar back of Li Zongbao. He shook his head and flew down as well. At this moment, the Kai family had already returned to its original order. However, every disciple who saw Li Zongbao had a face full of respect and fear. They all stood far away and avoided him. In the meeting hall, beside a crystal coffin stood Fairy Xianxia and the rest. "Is Wuxia dead or alive?" Li Zongbao entered the meeting hall and asked. "Senior Brother Li." Fairy Xianxia and the rest turned around and bowed. "Congratulations on condensing your core, Senior Brother." Unexpectedly, Li Zongbao did not answer. He walked towards the crystal coffin expressionlessly. Walking to the front of the transparent crystal coffin, Li Zongbao saw Kai Wuxia's beautiful sleeping face, as well as her long eyelashes and long hair that almost covered her entire body. Only then did a trace of a smile appear on Li Zongbao's face. Moreover, his eyes were filled with warmth as he muttered to himself, "Wuxia, you are actually so beautiful. But you're still modest in front of me. Sigh, I don't want cold beauty. I only want living ugliness." However, Li Zongbao pushed his hand and was about to lift the lid of the crystal coffin. But at this moment, Xiaohua's slender hand reached out and pressed on the coffin. He said calmly, "Senior Brother Li, wait a moment. Let Hongxia explain." Li Zongbao did not stop. However, he did not lift the lid. Only then did he stop. He turned around and looked at Fairy Xianxia. "Senior Brother Li." Faced with Li Zongbao's cold gaze, Fairy Xia's heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly said, "I've already checked. Elder sister hasn't been revived. Not only is there no heartbeat or breathing, even his body is cold." "That is." A cold light flashed in Li Zongbao's eyes. The people around him trembled. "No." Kai Haisong hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Li. Although Wuxia did not come back to life, but she is not dead either." "Why?" Li Zongbao stared straight at Kai Haisong, his gaze as sharp as a sword. Kai Haisong suppressed his shock and said, "Wuxia's skin color is normal, and her hair is still growing. If she's already dead, not to mention other things, her hair must have withered and her body must have perished." "Then is she dead or alive?" Li Zongbao asked coldly. No one dared to answer. "As far as this Xiao knows." Xiaohua indifferently said, "Kai Wuxia is neither alive nor dead. He seems to be in a very strange state. So, congratulations, Senior Brother Li. At least Kai Wuxia is not dead." Her body is still here, and her body is also intact. Even her soul is not in the netherworld. Her resurrection should be easier than Ziyi. Of course, Kai Wuxia's right arm is this Xiao's fault. This Xiao will return her an intact arm after she comes back to life. Emma. Li Zongbao glanced at Xiao Hua indifferently, then turned to look at the crystal coffin and asked in a low voice, "What is going on with this crystal coffin?" Senior brother Li. This crystal coffin originally belonged to Jin Quan Shan Tu Hong. Xiao Hua replied in a low voice. Li Zongbao's eyebrows twitched, as if he thought of something. Also, Senior Kai, bring everyone out for a moment. This Xiao wants to check on Kai Wuxia's situation again. Xiao Hua turned his head and ordered. Kai Haisong was slightly stunned, but Fairy Hongxia was overjoyed and hurriedly said, "Okay, we will leave now." Senior brother Li, you go out too. Xiao Hua said indifferently. This Xiao will not leave. Li Zongbao shook his head. From now on, this Xiao will not be separated from Wuxia. Xiao Hua urged his magic power to restrain Li Zongbao, but he immediately withdrew his magic power and said indifferently, "If you want Kai Wuxia to come back to life, you should hurry up and leave." Li Zongbao suddenly raised his head and stared at Xiao Hua for a moment. Xiao Hua was not afraid and directly faced him. What a joke, not to mention that Li Zongbao had just condensed his core, even if he was in the late stage of gold core, in Xiao Hua's eyes. He was just a gold core. Seeing that Xiao Hua did not shrink back, Li Zongbao hesitated slightly and was the last to walk out of the meeting hall. Then Xiao Hua made a grabbing motion, and the capital star array of the meeting hall was activated. In the entire hall, only Xiao Hua and the crystal coffin were left. Sigh, fellow Kai. Years have passed since we parted, and now we are once again on different paths. Xiao Hua walked to the front of the crystal coffin and stared at Kai Wuxia's lifelike face. He whispered, "This Xiao knows that you may still have a chance to live, but this Xiao really does not know where this chance comes from. However, since the one who tied the bell should untie it, then this Xiao can try his best." After saying that, Xiao Hua reached out and opened the crystal coffin. He stretched out his thumb and middle finger and placed it on Kai Wuxia's left wrist. He closed his eyes and after a moment, he slightly frowned and released a strand of soul thread, which very cautiously landed between Kai Wuxia's eyebrows. See, when Xiao Hua's soul thread rushed into Kai Wuxia's soul, he saw the situation of the mysterious dark cloud and couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He saw that Kai Wuxia's mysterious dark cloud was already in pieces, as if she had died long ago. But the strange thing was that the mysterious dark cloud was now wrapped in a faint layer of water. This water was sparkling and translucent, flashing with a faint unknown brilliance. It flowed very slowly outside the mysterious dark cloud. The scattered and mysterious dark clouds seemed to be condensed by this water bloom. This water. Is it the effect of that willow branch? Xiao Hua was somewhat baffled. That strand of soul thread gradually approached the water. Boo! A loud sound rang out. That soul thread had just touched the water when it exploded in Xiao Hua's soul, and a kind of boundless and desolate feeling emerged from Xiao Hua's soul. A seemingly boundless netherworld sea appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes. There were countless corpses in the sea, and waves of blood soared to the sky. From time to time, there were strange, huge, and ugly netherworld beasts rushing out of the sea, swallowing hundreds and thousands of corpses in one gulp. Boundless without end. Without a boat, without a bridge, I cannot cross it. A kind of indescribable pain emerged from Xiao Hua's heart, and a kind of feeling of absolute powerlessness filled Xiao Hua's body at the same time. Woo-woo. Suddenly, there seemed to be a kind of Sanskrit sound, and also seemed to be a kind of golden rune, and there was a slight feeling of armor inscriptions. A three-colored brilliance pierced through the sea of bitterness, rushing to the other side of the sea of bitterness. However, that three-colored bridge had just appeared when a wave of blood struck. Xiao Hua's soul thread was shattered, and all of his feelings disappeared in an instant. Hiss! Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. His back was covered in a layer of cold sweat, and he didn't dare to extend that second strand of soul thread. Taking out the willow branch, Xiao Hua's divine sense, Buddhist sense, and even soul sense probed, but they were all empty. Even where the soul thread fell, it still couldn't wrap around. When Xiao Hua opened his Dhamma eyes, in those already somewhat transformed Dhamma eyes, there was a three-colored rainbow bridge in Xiao Hua's hand. Sure enough, It's this thing that's causing trouble. Xiaohua understood. Unfortunately, he still waved it several times on Kai Wuxia's corpse, but the willow branch didn't move at all. Of course, Kai Wuxia's corpse also didn't change. Xiaohua scratched his ears and cheeks. He clearly knew that this thing would work, but he just didn't know how to use it. Forget it. I'm afraid the opportunity hasn't come yet. Xiaohua was dejected. He was only a golden core cultivator, and his soul cultivation had just reached Ming Ruotian. He was still too far away from being able to see through life and death. Thinking about this, Xiaohua was about to put the willow branch into his space, but at this moment, he hesitated. He thought of the previous water bloom, thought of the Sanskrit sound and the netherworld sea within the water bloom, and flipped his hand, sending the willow branch into the Buddha Sarira. It really did fall into the clear water bottle. Swish, a faint Buddhist light emerged from the Buddha Sarira, and the entire clear water bottle slightly swelled. The willow branch in the clear water bottle suddenly gained a layer of holiness. This willow branch is a Buddhist artifact? Xiaohua suddenly realized. Xiaohua opened the capital star formation, and Li Zongbao was guarding the entrance. Seeing that Xiaohua didn't look happy, he didn't ask anything and quickly rushed to the crystal coffin. How is it? Fairy Xianxia was the second to come over, and asked in a low voice. Sigh, Wuxia really didn't die. But it's still very difficult to resurrect her. With my current cultivation, I can't do anything. Xiaohua sighed, and with a grab, he was about to take out the capital star formation's jade talisman. Humph! Fairy Xianxia snorted coldly, turned around and walked over. Xiaohua was stunned, but soon understood. After thinking for a while, he took out a blank jade talisman and recorded the method to use the capital star formation. He quickly chased after her, and with a smile as if he was presenting a treasure, he said, Xianxia, why are you giving it to me? I don't want it. Fairy Xianxia glared at him unhappily. Hee, Xiaohua laughed. I've already given you what I gave you. This is what you gave me. Who are the two of us? Fairy Xianxia was originally worried about Kai Wuxia's life, but when she saw Xiaohua's expression, she knew that she would be fine. Only then did she glance at him and take the jade talisman. Kai Haisong naturally followed beside the two of them, but Kai Haisong's eyes were only looking ahead. It wasn't clear if he didn't see them, or if he was only concerned about Kai Wuxia. Xiaohua, what should we do now? Everyone walked in front of the crystal coffin and took a look. Kai Haisong turned around and asked Xiaohua. There's nothing else, we can only wait, Xiaohua pointed at Kai Wuxia and said. At this moment, she's neither dead nor alive, and her lifespan is very long. I'm afraid that you and I can't compare to her. Once the opportunity comes, she can be resurrected. The Kai family only needs to protect her body. Chapter 2995. How can I let the Kai family keep Wuxia's body? Without waiting for Kai Haisong to speak, Li Zongbao reached out his hand and lifted the crystal coffin. Unfortunately, just as his hand touched the coffin, Xiaohua also reached out his hand. The crystal coffin seemed to be cast from copper and iron and could no longer be lifted from the stone table. Senior brother Li, Xiaohua said indifferently, this matter still needs to be discussed with the head of the Kai family. Li Zongbao coldly glanced at Xiaohua's finger on the crystal coffin and actually raised his head to look at Xiaohua's face. His eyes were no longer like before, only cold and black. Xiaohua's eyes narrowed. Just like before, he faced the increasingly cold gaze. He knew that Li Zongbao's mind was already damaged. Now that he saw the half-dead Kai Wuxia, not only did the parting treasured mirror suffer a backlash, even the weapon spirit of the immortal slaughtering whip suffered a backlash. Especially now that Li Zongbao had just stepped into the core formation realm, his realm was not stable yet. The feeling of power in his palm had yet to fade from Li Zongbao's heart. He really might not be afraid to fight with him. Zongbao, Kai Haisong's mind raced. He turned to look at Fairy Xianxia, Kai Haisong and the rest. They exchanged glances and secretly nodded. He hurriedly shouted, although Wuxia is my beloved daughter, she suffered grievances in my Kai family. Even after death, her corpse was humiliated by others. My Kai family feels that we are not worthy of keeping Wuxia's corpse. If Zongbao is willing, you can take it away. However, I ask Zongbao to be considerate. If, by any chance, please send Wuxia back to my Luyang Kai family. Here. At the very least, she still has her ancestors and us to accompany her. Li Zongbao responded indifferently, not even nodding his head. Hearing Kai Haisong's words, Xiaohua gently removed his 2 fingers from the crystal coffin. Li Zongbao reached out and took out a storage pouch, wanting to put it in. Unfortunately, although Kai Wuxia was half dead, her soul was strangely well. How could he put it in the storage pouch? Xiaohua sighed and took out a spirit storage pouch and handed it over. Li Zongbao did not raise his head. He kept the crystal coffin and thought for a moment. He stretched out his hand and said to Xiaohua, "Give me the jade scroll that Jing Apple Village Elder Jilon gave you." Xiaohua was stunned and asked curiously, "When did Jilon give me a jade scroll?" "It was used in the records of soul cultivators." Li Zongbao replied indifferently. "I've heard him say that it recorded the location where a Dao sect senior had fallen." "Oh, that's a soul cultivator's bone." Xiaohua suddenly understood that Elder Jilon had mentioned an extremely dangerous place. "What do you want that for? You don't cultivate your soul, so how can you understand?" "I don't understand, but you do," Li Zongbao said resolutely. "Even if I have to break through millions of Meng mountains, travel through the 3 kingdoms of immortal cultivators, chase up to the 9th heaven, and descend to the 9th hell, I will find a way to resurrect Wuxia. That dangerous place is indeed located in the depths of millions of Meng mountains. I'm determined to explore it." Xiaohua instantly felt that Li Zongbao's figure was incomparably tall. He understood that with the foundation of the Utopia faction, Li Zongbao could cultivate to the nascent soul stage or even the separating spirit stage without any suspense. However, Li Zongbao also understood that relying on the inheritance of the Utopia faction alone was not enough to resurrect a dead person. He could only learn from others' strong points and search for thousands of families. That was why he decided to go to millions of Meng mountains. "Senior brother Li, the millions of Meng mountains that we went to was only a corner of the real Meng mountains. Moreover, we were protected by Ziming and Xiao Mao, so we returned safely." What Elder Jilon said. "I'm afraid that the so-called depths of Wu Meng mountains are rarely entered by ordinary Dao sect cultivators. If you rashly go in, give it to me." Li Zongbao did not listen to his advice at all and said coldly. Xiaohua was not satisfied and insisted, "As for Kai Wuxia, I naturally don't have a way to resurrect her now, but I'm completely confident that I can resurrect her in the future. You don't need to find a way to resurrect her by yourselves." Fairy Xianxia was still fine, but when Kai Haisong and the others heard this, they turned pale with fright. Controlling life and death, that was a great magical power that even immortals did not dare to boast about. Xiaohua was only a golden core cultivator now, but he dared to say such a big thing. Who would not be shocked after hearing this? "Give it to me," Li Zongbao said again. Xiaohua looked at Li Zongbao and narrowed his eyes again, as if he was thinking about something. However, after a while, he reached out his hand and took out the grayish bone. He used his soul consciousness to explore it, and then recorded the things inside in a jade slip and handed it to Li Zongbao. Li Zongbao took it and used his soul consciousness to take a look. Then, he carefully put the jade slip away and activated his magic power, flying out of the meeting hall. "Senior brother Li, where are you going? The Utopia faction or the millions of Meng mountains?" Xiaohua hurriedly shouted and chased after him. Roar! A mournful howl suddenly sounded from the side of Yang Cauldron Mountain, and a heroic and sorrowful singing voice came from the sky. "My heart is in my chest, where is thy heart? Thy heart is not in heaven and earth, my heart is lonely, so what if it is in my chest? Thy heart is in the 9 heavens, my heart becomes an immortal, thy heart is in the 9 underworlds, my heart is in the devil. My heart wants to be one with thy heart, the ends of the world can't help, my heart wants to sleep with thy heart, gods and demons kill." As the voice faded away, Li Zongbao's lonely figure also gradually disappeared. Xiaohua could certainly catch up with Li Zongbao, but how could he catch up with Li Zongbao's infatuation? Although elder sister's life was short, she met such a lover. Even if elder sister is in the 9 underworlds, her heart will be at ease. She didn't live her life in vain. Fairy Xianxia and the others chased after him and also looked at the sky, murmuring, "How many female cultivators in this world have such good fortune?" "Xianxia, Do you think senior brother Li will return to the Utopia faction or the millions of Meng Mountains? Xiao Hua slightly bit his lips and whispered. Is this important? Fairy Xianxia asked. With elder sister's company, senior brother Li will no longer be lonely in this world. Sigh yes. Xiao Hua sighs in his heart and reaches out to grab Fairy Xia's hand. Unfortunately, he grabs nothing but air. Fairy Xia dodges Xiao Hua and says to Kai Hai Song, Father, you must keep elder sister's matter and Xiao Hua's matter a secret. These are all important matters. If a trace of it is leaked, the Kai family of Luyang will be in unprecedented danger. Then, Fairy Xia passed the jade slip with the capital star array to Kai Hai Song and said, Also, the array outside the Kai family is too clumsy. Only the array in the meeting hall is the real defensive array. If you encounter any danger, you can hide in it. This is the way to control it. Great. Kai Hai Song was overjoyed. He knew the power of the capital star array very well. It was a divine array that could resist the power of the core formation stage. I don't dare to delay any longer. The war is about to end. I have to rush back to the Huanhua sect. Fairy Xia bowed, turned around and flew into the sky. It can't be? Xiao Hua, who was standing at the side, was dumbfounded. He did not expect that Fairy Xia would actually leave just like Li Zongbao. After a slight hesitation, he hurriedly bowed towards Kai Hai Song and the rest, before his figure shot up into the air. However, after flying for several dozen feet, Xiao Hua stopped again. With a flick of his wrist, he took out a storage pouch and tossed it to Kai Hai Song. Senior Xiao, these are some rice seeds. You can distribute them or sell them to all parts of the country of Xi. However, if there is a barren place, you still have to give them away. You can't accept spirit stones. In addition, the Kai family must compensate for the places in Luyang that were damaged by senior brother Li. The required silver and other items can be deducted from the rice seeds. This. Kai Hai Song saw the storage bag fall and was really puzzled. He didn't know how to deal with it. A cultivator who cared about the secular world. This was the first time he met someone like that. Even though Fairy Xia ran fast, could she hide from Xiao Hua? Similarly, they were flying towards the teleportation array of Lin Yu Town. In less than half a cup of tea's time, Fairy Xia's graceful and seductive figure appeared in Xiao Hua's vision. Looking at this familiar figure, Xiao Hua's heart was burning with passion. Xiao Hua's harvest from the millions of Meng Mountains was bountiful, far beyond his imagination. However, along the way, with Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao accompanying him, the sweet journey in Xiao Hua's heart was completely over. Now that he finally had a chance to be alone with Fairy Xia, and they weren't in Luyang, how could Xiao Hua not be distracted? Therefore, Xiao Hua didn't fly too fast and just followed behind Fairy Xia. Seeing that the sky was dark and they were in the wilderness, Xiao Hua activated the transcendence energy in his body and pounced towards Fairy Xia like a flying wolf. When Xiao Hua hugged Fairy Xia, a kind of thirst arose from the bottom of Xiao Hua's heart. Xiao Hua lowered his voice and growled, "Stop, you're a bandit." After saying that, Xiao Hua carried Fairy Xia's body and flew towards the place he had set his sights on. If it was someone else, Fairy Xia would definitely struggle and even blame Xiao Hua. But this time, no matter how Xiao Hua's tongue licked the edge of Fairy Xia's earlobe, she didn't have any reaction. Sensing the abnormality of Fairy Xia, and feeling that although Fairy Xia's body was still warm in his embrace, it wasn't as hot as before. Xiao Hua's heart turned cold and his body stiffened unconsciously. He asked in a low voice, "Wife? Since when have I been your wife?" Fairy Xia asked indifferently. "Wife, what do you mean?" Xiao Hua felt that something was wrong. "Aren't you my wife? Why didn't you say this in front of senior martial brother Li and junior martial brother Xiao?" Fairy Xia didn't turn her head. She just looked at the darkness in the distance and asked faintly. Xiao Hua gently turned Fairy Xia's body over. Looking at Fairy Xia's teary eyes, he said seriously, "It's not that I don't want to say it, it's just that you and I haven't done the dual cultivation ceremony yet. If I call you that, won't it tarnish your reputation?" Calling me wifey would tarnish my reputation. Then, wouldn't you tarnish my reputation even more by hugging me and doing something lewd with me? Fairy Xia sneered coldly. Xiao Hua was speechless. The hand that was hugging Fairy Xia slipped unconsciously. Fairy Xia's heart seemed to have turned cold along with that hand. Chapter 2996. You only care about your momentary happiness. When have you ever thought about me? Fairy Xia continued. You have a junior sister, a close friend, and a disciple. How are you going to treat me? My wife. Xiaohua was truly speechless. He did not expect that after so many days, Fairy Xia's rebound would be so severe. Before the dual cultivation ceremony, it's better for you to call me junior sister Xia. Fairy Xia said indifferently, I know what you're thinking. Naturally, I can do as you wish. However, today is the last day. I'm afraid we don't have any more chances. The past may have been sweet, today may be bitter, but all of this will slowly dissipate with the night. What do you mean? The fire in Xiaohua's heart was completely extinguished. Not much. Fairy Xia stroked her hair and said faintly, For my dead sister, senior brother Li did not get to know a single female cultivator for dozens of years. He is known as the #1 person below gold core. The number of female cultivators who want to dual cultivate with him is probably more than the number of junior sisters you know, right? However, he has never even looked at them properly. Today, for the sake of my sister's resurrection, he actually abandoned his sect and rushed to the Meng Mountains alone. Such a person with such deep affection is rarely seen in the world. Xiaohua, I will not ask you to be like senior brother Li, to not look at others for my sake. However, I beg you, please consider my feelings. Don't get to know more female cultivators. I really do not have the slightest bit of confidence or dignity under these meaningless challenges. As Fairy Xia spoke, her tears flowed down in droplets. Xiaohua did not expect that he would hurt Fairy Xia so much. For a moment, he did not know what to say. Do you know junior sister Mingyue from my Huanhua sect? Mingyue? I don't know. Xiaohua shook his head slightly. No impression? What does she have to do with me? Junior sister Mingyue has deep feelings for Nameless. If she knows that you are Nameless, I'm afraid she will become another good junior sister of yours. Fairy Xia said sadly, although I am open-minded, how can I allow a junior sister to be my junior sister? How can she watch her lover and her martial aunt dual cultivate together? See, Xiaohua finally understood. He finally understood why Fairy Xia was so conflicted about how many female cultivators she knew. Red Cloud, Xiaohua raised his hand and said, This Xiao hereby swears a blood oath. Apart from you and Shui. No, Fairy Xia shook her head slightly and stopped Xiaohua. The so-called blood oath is nothing but a void. This concubine is not willing to use this blood oath to bind you. This concubine only wants your one and only love for this concubine, as long as your true heart. How can the blood oath related to cultivation see your true nature? Then, what do you think we should do? Xiaohua was completely out of ideas. Xiaolang. Fairy Xia opened her teary eyes and looked at Xiaohua. She said word by word, Our relationship has progressed too quickly. Although we were in love with each other and fell in love at first sight, in reality, the time we spent together was very short. Our relationship might not be solid, and it might even be maintained in the joy of dual cultivation. Therefore, this concubine feels that you and I should separate for a period of time. Both of us should calm down and think about each other's thoughts. Of course, don't worry, Xiaolang. Even if you don't want this concubine will not look at anyone else in this lifetime. However, if this concubine can see clearly, then, this concubine will definitely not stay by your side. This concubine has her own proud and aloof heart. Huff, Xiaohua let out a deep breath. He had finally encountered his first relationship problem in this lifetime. Based on what Fairy Xia said, if he couldn't solve it well, she wouldn't be with him in the future. Moreover, after the Great War of Sword and Dao, the 3 kingdoms of cultivators will be defeated. The cultivation sects of the 3 kingdoms will definitely be in chaos. The structure of each sect will have to be reorganized. One after another, handsome cultivators will spring up like bamboo shoots after the range. Xiaohua, although you are blessed by the heavens, there will always be someone better than you. There are many people who are more outstanding than you, who are more favored by the heavens than you. You should comprehend what you have learned from the millions of Meng mountains and take a step further. You should step into the realm of nascent soul grandmaster as soon as possible. Fairy Xianxia continued. This concubine has also obtained the inheritance of the phoenix. The reason why this concubine didn't reveal it in front of the Qingyang's Kai family head, nor did I tell father, was because I wanted to comprehend it quietly and fully accept the inheritance of the phoenix. When the storm suddenly rises in the future, this concubine will be able to stand on high and turn the tide. Perhaps, this is an opportunity for you and me to cultivate on our own. This concubine seems to remember that you once said, it's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. Perhaps only when we are far away from each other, can we see each other's needs, each other's love, and each other's sincerity. I understand. Xiaohua took a deep breath. He felt his nose turning sour. He reached out and hugged Fairy Xianxia again. He whispered, this Xiao will do as you say. This Xiao will let you see this Xiao's heart for you. This Xiao will also let you know that this Xiao is the heavens beyond the heavens. This Xiao is an outsider. In this Xiaoyu continent, only Xiaohua is supreme. As he spoke, Xiaohua stretched out his lips and gently kissed Fairy Xiaoxia's forehead, eyes, ears, nose, cheeks and chin. Finally, he heavily kissed her sweet lips. When he deeply tasted the bitter tears on her lips, he decisively left. With a long roar, he rushed into the sky. Lightning flashed around his body. With a rumbling sound, he rushed towards the distant Linyu town. Xiaohua. Seeing Xiaohua turn into lightning and fly away, Fairy Xiaoxia's heart suddenly became empty. Empty like nothingness. Empty like there was no falling. Empty like the pitch-black night. Suddenly, a kind of sadness welled up in Fairy Xiaoxia's heart. Her tears involuntarily fell, drowning the entire night. Coming out from the last transfer array, Xiaohua's heart still felt like a huge rock was pressing down on it. Although he left Fairy Xiaoxia in a very carefree manner and said those bold words, and although he knew Fairy Xiaoxia's bitterness in his heart, he really did not understand Fairy Xiaoxia's thoughts. He, Huang Mingxiang, Zi Ming, Jiu Xia, and even himself did not know about Ming Yu's matter. Why did he give Fairy Xiaoxia so much pressure? He also never thought of dual cultivation with these female cultivators. Saying a few words, walking a few steps with them, what's the point? Even if it's just holding hands, what's the point? Zi Ming might not even be able to see him in the future. Consoling him, what's the point? And all these, Shui seems to have never said anything about it, right? Forget it. Xiaohua looked at the deathly pale clear sky. The wisps of faint cloud seemed to also carry a bitter expression. He couldn't help but smile bitterly and say, perhaps Red Cloud was right, only time and distance can test one's heart. After sorting out his emotions, Xiaohua was just about to fly up when a faintly discernible divine sense strangely swept over. Who is it? Xiaohua sneered. His soul pierced out following the divine sense. Ayoyo! An extremely exaggerated cry came from the sky. At the same time, a figure appeared. That figure was hugging his head with his hands, appearing to be in extreme pain. Second senior brother. You're really like a ghost that won't disperse. Wherever this Xiao goes, you'll find me. Xiaohua glanced at him, seemingly unmoved, and said indifferently. That person was naturally the heavenly demon sect's Zhang Qingxiao. When Zhang Qingxiao heard Xiaohua's words, he released his hands in astonishment and asked curiously, who provoked our Imperial Thunder sect's nameless? Do you not want your head anymore? No one provoked me. Xiaohua also said indifferently, why are you looking for me? Io, if no one provoked you, then you must have eaten a fireball talisman. Zhang Qingxiao pointed at him and said, look at your face. It's as if everyone in the country of Xi owes you 3 low-grade spirit stones. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Xiaohua urged his magic power, as if he was really going to leave. Io, didn't someone say that he wanted a nascent soul cultivation method? I worked so hard and racked my brains to get it, but he doesn't want it. What a disappointment. Zhang Qingxiao didn't stop him. She only said one sentence, and Xiaohua obediently stopped. Give it to me. Xiaohua still weakly stretched out his hand. Don't. Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, first, let me see Luer. We'll talk about the rest later. And Xiaohua knew that Zhang Qingxiao and Xiao Xianrue were both concerned. He didn't dare to neglect and took Jianghu out of the space. Seeing that Jianghu still hadn't changed, Zhang Qingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Little junior brother, didn't you promise to wake Lure up? How many years has it been? Why hasn't there been any news? It's not that I don't want to help. Xiaohua said helplessly. That expert doesn't have time now. We can only wait until after the Path Sword battle. Speaking of this, Xiaohua's heart moved, and he asked, "Oh right, did Sky Patrol City really fall into the hands of sword cultivators? What's the situation now?" "This has nothing to do with you." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and looked at Jiang Lure with pity. "You'd better think of a way to wake Lure up. However, I reckon it'll be soon." Seeing that Zhang Qingxiao didn't say anything, Xiaohua could only wave the spirit storage bag in his hand and put Jiang Lure into the space. "Secondly?" Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, "You have to tell me who provoked you. I'm very curious in this world, who can make you so upset?" Xiaohua sighed deeply, looked around and said, "Let's go, find a secluded place." Yes, it seemed that other than Zhang Qingxiao, Xiaohua could tell these things to others, right? When Zhang Qingxiao heard this, she unconsciously curled her lips and said coldly, "Little junior brother, I'm not talking about you, but you're giving too much face to Kai Hongxia. And this girl is too pretentious. There's a saying that if you don't court death, you won't die. If you court death, you'll die. Letting go of a cultivator like you, who has a promising future, instead of pestering you, she actually let go. This kind of trick of loosening the reins only to grasp them better is really too childish. Now, who knows how many female cultivators in the 3 kingdoms of cultivation are looking forward to dual cultivation with Nameless. When the names of Terrifying Phoenix and Nameless are revealed, you can sit in the myriad Thunder Valley and wait for others to propose marriage." Chapter 2997. Second senior brother, don't make sarcastic remarks. Xiaohua bitterly smiled. "I'm having a headache right now. I'm really not like what Hongxia said in her heart." Zhang Qingxiao laughed sinisterly and said, "In fact, it's simple. You only need to conquer her completely physically and suppress her psychologically. Then, she won't even let out a fart. Look at my wife, that charming sword cultivator. Every time I make her want to die. Whatever I say, she can only listen attentively. She dares to say half a no word?" "Second senior brother," Xiaohua shouted, "not every female cultivator is like this, right? What else can we do?" Zhang Qingxiao smacked her lips. "Destroy the bright flower stone. Even if we close our eyes, it's still the same." Xiaohua helplessly lowered his head. He really couldn't endure Zhang Qingxiao's vulgarity. "Little junior brother, do you know what is called a man's true colors?" Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "I know. Isn't a man's true colors the true colors of a hero?" Xiaohua asked curiously. "Isn't it the spirit of not sweating, not afraid of hardship?" "That's right. No matter if it's a man or a hero, they are all lustful. When dual cultivating, they're not afraid of sweating, not afraid of hardship." Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile, "Saints have made such a judgment about us male cultivators. Can we be stronger than saints?" Xiaohua was speechless after hearing Zhang Qingxiao's fallacy. "Actually, every male cultivator is the same," Zhang Qingxiao said indifferently. "They all want to conquer female cultivators and take every female cultivator for themselves. Even if they can't succeed, they will imagine it in their hearts. Some ambiguity, some small actions, it's just to satisfy the instincts of male cultivators." "Is that so?" In this aspect, Xiaohua was far worse than Zhang Qingxiao. "Of course, you don't need to care about these ambiguities. They're just small things before the meal. They'll be forgotten after eating. Only your fairy Hongxia, your shui is the main dish, the main meal." Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. "After a meal, everyone will remember the main meal. Who still remembers those small things? Even if the small things are delicious and beautiful, they can't fill the stomach." "Then do you think Hongxia she?" Xiaohua asked for help again. "Dump her for 10 years. Zhang Qingxiao laughed. "Look at how lonely she is. She will definitely come back to beg you.
Really?
Really? But what if he doesn't? Damn it. Ask Zhang Yutong to find you a beautiful swordswoman. Zhang Qingxiao said nonchalantly. Even if we can't defeat the sword cultivator in the Dao sword battle, we have to conquer the swordswoman in bed.
Forget it.
Xiao Hua was dejected again. He stretched out his hand and said, "What about the cultivation method? If that's the case, I might as well enter the nascent soul stage as soon as possible and win the Red Cloud fair and square. TCH, if you don't conquer her, just wait for her to unite with Xue Xue and conquer you." Zhang Qingxiao pulled out a small storage pouch from her waist and handed it to Xiao Hua. "Many thanks, second senior brother." Xiao Hua took the storage bag without even looking at it and said weakly, "There are various nascent soul cultivation methods in this storage bag. There are even 2 complete spirit-severing cultivation methods. I'm afraid it will be enough for you to use in a short time." Zhang Qingxiao said seriously, "As for the spells and secret techniques used by nascent soul cultivators, there are also many inside. You should also take a look." Hearing that there was actually a spirit-severing cultivation method inside, Xiao Hua was stunned. His heart was filled with warmth. He looked at Zhang Qingxiao and bowed. Second senior brother has worked hard. Little brother will definitely not let second senior brother down.
It's nothing.
On Xiaoyu continent, there are not many people that I can help. You are lucky to be one of them. Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand, but then she said with shifty eyes, "Oh right, do you have any more spiritual herbs?"
Yes.
If it was another day, Xiao Hua would definitely hesitate. After all, he had not returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. If he took out a lot of spiritual herbs, it would definitely arouse Zhang Qingxiao's suspicion. But seeing that she even took out a spirit-severing cultivation method, why should he be stingy? Zhang Qingxiao rubbed her hands, very excited. "Take out a storage bag?" Xiao Hua urged.
Okay.
Zhang Qingxiao took out 3 storage bags at once. Xiao Hua did not hesitate. He took out a soul nest from his arms and pretended to take out a lot of spiritual herbs from the space, filling the 3 storage bags to the brim. "Ha ha 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 ha," Zhang Qingxiao laughed. "I knew it. You went to Mount Meng. How could you come back empty-handed? I'm afraid that you have plundered all the grass roots in Mount Meng, right?"
Not to that extent."
Xiao Hua smiled and did not refute. She asked again, "By the way, how is the battle in Sky Patrol City? Tell me seriously." "Sigh, don't mention it." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and said, "Even I underestimated the sword cultivators in this battle. I did not expect that the sword cultivators had already set up a powerful sword formation outside Sky Patrol City. They killed the city lord of Sky Patrol City, Immortal Shui Yu, in the sword formation. Not even a nascent soul cultivator could escape. Moreover, for nascent soul cultivators, Immortal Mi Yu and Immortal Quangtian from Imperial Thunder Sect, and Immortal Qing Yan and Immortal Lao Yun from Mo Sang Mountain, were captured by the sword formation at the same time. In my opinion, if they did not use the disciples of Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain to threaten Dao Sect, the 4 of them would not have escaped from the sword formation. "Hiss," Xiao Hua gasped and said in disbelief. Where did the sword cultivators get such a powerful sword formation? However, in an instant, Jiuxia's peerless smile appeared in Xiao Hua's mind, and a sense of powerlessness appeared. Yes, in the hands of the omnipotent Jiuxia, what was a sword formation that could kill a nascent soul cultivator? Now, even if the True Path Sect cultivators came to their senses and sent their army to surround Sky Patrol City, with the support of the sword formation, the True Path Sect has attacked countless times and there seems to be no sign of them breaking through. Moreover, the most important thing is that the sword cultivators have not taken out the 4 nascent soul cultivators and the disciples of 2 sections. Therefore, Dao Sect is bound to lose this time. Zhang Qingxiao sighed. Not necessarily. Xiao Hua shook his head. The sword cultivators have an invulnerable sword formation. Why doesn't Dao Sect have an invincible formation? Now, Dao Sect is attacking while setting up the formation. When the formation is completed, it will be the time when Sky Patrol City's sword formation is destroyed. What about the disciples of the 2 sects? Zhang Qingxiao smiled. You don't want the disciples of Imperial Thunder Sect to return to Sky Thunder Peak. This is a difficult problem. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly and scratched his head. In the end, the sword cultivators will definitely talk to the disciples of the two sects.
Unless no one dares to ignore the safety of the disciples of the two sects.
Zhang Qingxiao smiled. Otherwise, no sect will send disciples in the next sword battle.
Fortunately, I have already escaped from the battle. Faced with such an unsolvable problem, Xiaohua could only be lucky that he had escaped from the battle earlier.
Yes, you should go back quickly. Under normal circumstances, your contribution would definitely cause a sensation in the entire Imperial Thunder sect. But at this time, there will be enthusiasm. But there will definitely be no jubilation. Zhang Qingxiao said with a smile. Xiaohua sighed. Before the battle, I definitely didn't think about this. I just wanted to save my life and save Cui Hongshan's life. But who would have thought that the terrifying phoenix would come, and so would John Doe. I want to see how you deal with them. Zhang Qingxiao gloated. Why don't you come to Heavenly Demon sect to hide? Forget it, so what if it's John Doe?
I don't believe that the Imperial Thunder sect will be unhappy with a golden core cultivator with nascent soul cultivation. Xiaohua waved his hand. He had obtained the secret technique of Huta village's elder Wu, so he was confident that he could hide his secret, so he was less afraid.
Good. Zhang Qingxiao clapped. If you say so, then so be it. If it doesn't work, I will use the power of Heavenly Demon sect to save you. Thank you. Second senior brother.
Xiaohua got up and prepared to leave.
Take care. Little junior brother. Zhang Qingxiao laughed behind his back. Remember, a real man doesn't have to worry about not having a wife. Oh, by the way, the dual cultivation secret technique of Devil Sect is in the storage bag. You should take a look at it. Xiaohua's figure suddenly fell a few feet.
Obviously, he was scared by Zhang Qingxiao's words, and then he rushed in the direction of Imperial Thunder Sect.
Ha 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 ha! Zhang Qingxiao laughed loudly and disappeared from the secluded foothills. Not to mention Xiaohua's return to Imperial Thunder Sect, the focus of the three cultivation countries' attention, the center of the Dao Sword War, the Heavenly Patrol City at the border of the country of Xi, was just as Zhang Qingxiao said. Hundreds of thousands or even millions of Dao sect cultivators had surrounded the Heavenly Patrol City. Within a few hundred miles of the Heavenly Patrol City, the patrolling cultivators were like flies that filled the sky. They seemed to be flying in a disorderly manner, but they were also flying in a very orderly manner. A flying sword that seemed to be a messenger had just flown out of the Heavenly Patrol City and was about to rush toward a gradually widening gap. Although the flying sword was extremely fast, it only reached the edge of the gap. Immediately, several cultivators flew to the center of the gap and waved their magic treasures at the same time, easily capturing the flying sword. One of the cultivators took the flying sword and immediately flew away, while the other cultivators began to fly in a disorderly manner. It seemed that this kind of situation often happened, but they still ignored it. However, as the patrolling cultivators flew, their eyes were filled with vigilance and a trace of helplessness as they looked at the Heavenly Patrol City in the distance that they were no longer familiar with. At this time, the Heavenly Patrol City did not have the city outline of the earlier Heavenly Patrol City. Instead, it was wrapped in a layer of green sword light. From a distance, the sword light looked like a huge oval chicken egg, but upon closer inspection, it looked like layers of fine spider webs. Moreover, tens of thousands of small swords were cruising inside the spider web, more nimbly than tadpoles. These small swords were similar to the cultivators in mid-air. The trajectory of the flying swords was very mysterious. Every time a small sword streaked across the green light, a faint wisp of heaven and earth spirit chi was produced from the green light, and the heaven and earth spirit chi was instantly absorbed by the flying swords. The green light grew larger, and more small swords were born from it. It seemed that these small swords were endless, and the green light was also endless. He had also told fellow Daoist in the group that he would update during the final battle of the Dao Sword so that everyone could watch it in one go. Therefore, it had been delayed until today. Fellow Daoists in the group can testify to this. Now, fellow Daoist Wandering Dragon Holiday has also rewarded him. He will update 5 times a day for the next 4 days. Then, he will see how the plot progresses and decide whether to update more. Therefore, there is no such thing as fellow Daoist Wandering Dragon Holiday said. Fellow Daoists, you should still believe in the character of fellow Daoists. The 5 times should be 11 o'clock, 1300 hours, 1500 hours, 1700 hours, 1900 hours. Of course, I have to thank the other fellow Taoists for their support. I hope you will continue to support me in the future. Chapter 2998. The green light condensed into a spider web, and the spider web produced green light. This was the Tiani green light sword formation that sword cultivators were proud of. This Tiani green light sword formation not only broke the snow and ice wave formation of the Sky Patrol City 100 days ago, but also successfully killed Shuiyu Zhenren and captured all the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect in Mo Sang Mountain. Now, it firmly protected the Sky Patrol City that belonged to sword cultivators, resisting the waves of attacks of millions of Dao sect cultivators. The attacks of the True Path sect cultivators went from 3 times a day out of anger to once a day. 100 days later, they had not launched any attacks for more than 10 days. After all, they had used all the means available to them. The sword formation of the Sky Patrol City was as solid as a tortoise's shell. All the magic formations of the True Path sect could not do anything to it. They could only surround it and plan for the long term. However, after the Dao sect cultivators patrolling the sky, there were even more cultivators holding different magic tools and materials as they flew around busily. It was obvious that they were setting up a magic array. This magic array covered an extremely wide area. The ones in charge of setting it up were actually 4 nascent soul cultivators. These 4 nascent soul cultivators were also a little strange. 2 of them were early nascent soul cultivators. They stood in the middle with arrogant expressions, but these 2 didn't speak. They just stood there with their hands folded in their sleeves as they stared at the other 2 nascent soul cultivators beside them. The 2 cultivators in the middle were none other than Jiang Mingzi from the Immortal Ascension sect and Taoist Master Blue Feather from the Immortal Music sect. Next to the 2 of them, one was early nascent soul spiritual master Pin Xian of the Black Sky sect, and the other was middle nascent soul spiritual master Xianjing of the Kunlun sect. The 2 of them each held a jade slip, looking at it while discussing in a low voice. From time to time, they would issue orders. As for the people around them, they were Xianghua Song of the Black Sky sect and the people of the Kunlun sect. Jiang Mingzi and Immortal Blue Feather's eyes were staring at the jade slip in the hands of Immortal Pin Xian and Xianjing. Less than 100 li away from Zhenren Pin Xian, Xianjing and the others, on a not-so-tall snowy peak, there was a half-foot-tall lampstand. The bean-sized flame emitted an orange-red brilliance, covering the entire snowy peak. Although there were snowflakes floating down from time to time, and there was also a whistling cold wind, these were unable to break through the brilliance. Under the light, the wind was calm and the waves were calm. However, the atmosphere under the light and shadow was not really calm and tranquil. There were a dozen nascent soul cultivators on the snowy peak, with Sun Yunzi in the middle. In front of Sun Yunzi, who was frowning, sat Reverend Lu Hong with her legs crossed. These 2 late nascent soul cultivators with the highest cultivation base both had unsightly expressions on their faces. The rest of the nascent soul cultivators, regardless of whether they were middle nascent soul or early nascent soul, were scattered around them, either sitting cross-legged or standing casually. On the side of Sun Yunzi and Reverend Lu Hong stood Pan Dongmin, Gu Yun, Zhu Chenghe and Jiang Fian respectfully. These 4 think tanks of Dao sect had already lost the cold arrogance they had at the beginning of the battle. The cold arrogance that did not fade even when facing nascent soul cultivators had long faded away silently under the sword cultivators' tactics and heavy fatal blows. Their expressions were respectful, and the unwillingness in their eyes could not conceal the kind of dejection in their hearts. Sun Yunzi seemed to have stopped asking for the opinions of Zhu Chenghe and the others. He glanced at the silent crowd and said, "Is there anything else you want to say, my fellow Taoists?" The crowd was still silent. Although the nascent soul cultivators were in different positions, they all looked at each other, and no one spoke. Looking at such an awkward silence, Reverend Lu Hong coughed and said with a smile, "We have besieged Sky Patrol City for 100 days. Earlier, everyone was talking at once, and each idea was better than the other. Now that we have racked our brains for so many days, where can we find any good ideas? If you want to exchange your experience in cultivation, I'm afraid everyone will talk non-stop. But when it comes to attacking a city, we are not as good as these little kids." If it were any other day, Gu Yun and the others would definitely say a few humble words. But at this time, they were like clay statues, and did not dare to say a word, as if they had not heard anything at all. "Humph," Sun Yunzi sneered. "The little kids are smart enough, but unfortunately, they are not cunning enough.
For the past few years, they have been led by the nose by those old swordsmen, and in the end, they realize that everything has returned to the beginning.
Fellow Taoist Sun Yunzi, you can't say that.
In the distance, Reverend Yu Qing's face was gloomy as he retorted faintly. After several years of war, our counterattack was also powerful. Otherwise, these sword cultivators would not have been forced to put all their forces into Sky Patrol City, forcing us to fight the final battle.
That's right.
Reverend He Ping also nodded and said, although it was somewhat unexpected for the sword cultivators to attack Sky Patrol City, after all, the four little kids had made preparations before, and even made arrangements in and outside Sky Patrol City. But the sword cultivators were too determined, and their investment was also huge, so we were caught off guard. Then, Reverend He Ping pointed at the almost invisible green light in the distance and said, even if we knew that the sword cultivators had set up such a big sword formation, I'm afraid it was not easy to resist.
They had made preparations?
Sun Yunzi snorted and did not say more. Instead, he sighed and said, yes, fellow Taoist He Ping is right.
What the hell is this sword formation of the sword cultivators?
We have changed our tactics and attacked it for 100 days, but it seems to have no effect at all.
Nonsense. If it could be easily broken by us.
Can this sword formation be the trump card of the sword cultivators? Among the people present, only Reverend Lu and I could refute Sun Yunzi directly. When I think about how Reverend Shuiyu was killed by the sword formation with the defense formation of Sky Patrol City, my scalp tingles.
Do you have anything to say?
Sun Yunzi snorted and turned to Gu Yun and the others, saying, when we arrived at Sky Patrol City, I didn't hear any more suggestions from you. Alas, martial uncles and martial uncles, we have some expertise in planning, but we are not as comprehensive as the seniors in terms of battle and attack. Pan Dongmin sighed, bowed, and answered, moreover, sword cultivators now have the initiative, and even a great chance of victory. This is a naked slap to the faces of us juniors, letting us know that there is always someone better than us out there.
Martial Uncle Sun Yunzi.
Since Pan Dongmin had spoken, Jianghu naturally would not fall behind. She also bowed and said, I don't have any suggestions, but I have some small ideas.
Ha ha ha, small ideas, well go ahead.
Sun Yunzi laughed, as if Jianghu's words were very funny. Pan Dongmin glanced at Jianghu as if to stop her from speaking, but Jianghu was not moved and said, I think that the sword cultivators are actually in a very awkward situation, and are not much better than our Dao sect. After they captured Sky Patrol City, they did not take the initiative to attack, but instead wanted to hide like a turtle and defend.
Doesn't this mean that they have no confidence?
What's more, there were no cultivators of the Dao sect in the vicinity of the Sentry City when the Shuiyu sage was killed. Even the nascent soul masters that we arranged were far away.
Who would have known that Senior Shuiyu was killed?
Isn't the current situation of our Dao sect in the Three Kingdoms deliberately spread by the sword cultivators?
Isn't it just to give us an invisible pressure?
Do they want us to have a decisive battle with the sword cultivators? In fact, if Sky Patrol City had not fallen, based on the various battles, the swordsmen and spirit stones of Huan country would be far inferior to our Dao sect in terms of swordsmen and spirit stones. The tug of war would only be a great victory for our Dao sect. The results of the previous battles have proven this point. It is also because of this that when we were planning, although we considered Sky Patrol City, we did not focus on it. After all, Sky Patrol City is just a point, and the battle is a line, a plane. Also, the sword cultivators captured Sky Patrol City and killed Sage Shuiyu. But in the public announcement, they did not mention the 4 nascent soul seniors of Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain. A few days ago, they even sent out the communication talismans of the seniors of the 2 sects. The martial uncles have read these 2 jade slips and are prepared to send them back to Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain.
But what does this mean?
It means that the sword cultivators are not very confident in defending Sky Patrol City. They want to use the disciples of the 2 sects as blackmail. Upon hearing the mention of the disciples of Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain, Zhu Qinghe's expression changed slightly, and Sun Yunzi's expression changed even more. He said coldly, in your opinion, we only need to besiege Sky Patrol City? Then, will the sword cultivators lose without a fight? If there are no disciples of Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain, it will be inevitable. Jianghu glanced at Pan Dongmin, gritted her teeth and bowed. But the disciples of the two sects rashly entered Sky Patrol City because of the sword cultivators' trick, and now they are hostages of the sword cultivators. This is enough to turn the situation around.
Sigh, yes.
Sun Yunzi sighed. That day, Xiao Hua's communication talisman, Qinghe and I already knew that it was the sword cultivator's trick. But Immortal Mi Yu of Imperial Thunder Sect and Crazy Heaven were greedy for credit and insisted that it was sent by their disciples. No matter how we persuaded them, they did not listen. Instead, they volunteered to assist in the defense of Sky Patrol City. Tell me, this old man can't refuse to give them such a meritorious service just because they are from the country of Xi.
In the end,
Sigh, Taoist He Ping, don't you think so? Taoist He Ping hesitated slightly and nodded faintly without speaking. When Imperial Thunder Sect went to reinforce Sky Patrol City, he was also present. Sun Yunzi naturally had his own plans when he asked him. However, it seemed that Sun Yunzi was going to bring up a topic that was difficult for everyone to decide. Sure enough, seeing that Taoist He Ping did not say anything, Sun Yunzi said again, "Now, not only did the disciples of Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain not get credit, but they are trapped in a cage. I'm afraid they have become the most important trump card in the sword cultivators' hands. We have to think carefully. If the sword cultivators threaten us with this, and we have the confidence to kill the sword cultivators, how should we deal with it?" Chapter 2999. Everyone had been discussing this topic ever since the news of the fall of Sky Patrol City spread. However, no one brought it up as they knew it was a hot potato. Sun Yunzi naturally would not make any decision and could only let everyone discuss it. Unfortunately, everyone wanted to avoid such a big matter, so who would speak up? Under the orange light, there was dead silence. Seeing that no one spoke, Pan Dongmin sighed in his heart and bowed to break the deadlock. He said, "Uncles, you're right. Junior sister Jiang is also right. Although what Uncle Sun Yunzi said is important, it's not urgent. I think now that the sword tomb has disappeared, the natural barrier of Sky Patrol City is gone. If the swordsmen of Huan country come to help, although we're not afraid, we're under attack from both inside and outside. We're at a disadvantage, so we need to end the battle quickly. The longer we delay, the more variables there will be. Only by launching a thunderous attack on the swordsmen can we turn the situation around. Moreover, although Sky Patrol City is big, all the swordsmen may not be in it. I think they must be preparing for a bigger war and are about to attack the swordsmen of Huan country. The fall of Sky Patrol City is not the end, but the starting point of a new war. It's the beginning of a series of plans." Pan Dongmin had just finished speaking when Zhu Chenghe shook his head again. "I don't think so. The cultivators of the three countries are powerful and rich in resources, so we can support such a vast battle. However, Huan country is bitterly cold and has very few spiritual stone veins. What do they have to compete with us? Sky Patrol City is their last resort. They're waiting for the moment when they can't hold on anymore, which is the moment when they negotiate with our Taoist sect. Their persistence now is just for negotiation, a bargaining chip." "Ha ha ha," Immortal Lu Shi was amused and laughed. "There's a saying in the secular world, empty talk will harm the country. It means that you're not down to earth, you're just imagining things. You want to make the country prosper with your mouth, but in the end, you'll only end up with your family ruined. Your analysis is correct and reasonable, but if you really want to fight with the swordsmen, I don't mean to say that you're still too inexperienced." "We understand." Solitary Cloud had not spoken all this while. At that moment, he bowed and said, "Junior's performance in this battle is truly shameful. Even I feel ashamed. We were too naive and did not understand the complicated situation of the battle clearly enough. We have caused our Dao sect to be in such a terrible state. This Junior apologizes on behalf of the four of us." When Zhu Chenghe and the others heard that, complicated expressions appeared on their faces. However, Solitary Cloud ignored them and did not look at them. He merely lowered his head. "Yes, martial uncles, please punish us." Zhu Chenghe sighed in his heart and also bowed. Pan Dongmin and Jiang Fian didn't dare to put up a strong front and bowed together to ask for forgiveness. Sun Yunzi glanced at the crowd, then at Reverend Liushi. After pondering for a while, he raised his hand and said, "You just wait and get up. The great battle of Dao and sword is meant to train you all.
There will naturally be victories and defeats, so there is no need to be too concerned about it. The outcome of this battle had yet to be decided, and it was hard to say who would win or lose. This old man feels that all of you should think more about what you've gained from this battle. If you can comprehend more, it will be the result of our battle. If you can play a role in the battle of demon-resisting Valley, that will be the greatest gain. We understand. Solitary Cloud and the others replied in unison. Then, Sun Yunzi no longer paid attention to them. He looked at Reverend Liuxi and asked, "Junior brother Xianjing, how is the situation over there?" "There is no news yet." Reverend Liuxi shook his head. However, Xianjing and Reverend Pin Xian are both masters of formations. Although the Heaven and Earth Demon Sealing formation is a great formation left by the Immortal realm, in their hands, they will be able to set it up smoothly. This old man has long heard that this legendary Immortal formation has fallen into the hands of Immortal Music Sect and Immortal Ascension School. But the two sects have always kept it a secret. If not for the crucial moment of today's battle, how could they be willing to take it out? Sun Yunzi said with a smile, "Look at how stingy Jiang Mingzi and Lan Yu are, just like their sect leader. They are afraid that Reverend Pin Xian will leave something behind, so they keep a close eye on it every day for fear of any negligence." Alas, this is naturally understandable. Yun Mengzi of Chongbai's sect said faintly, "That is a formation left by the Immortal realm. Although it is somewhat incomplete, after all, it is very powerful. Immortal Music Sect and Immortal Ascension School have their own immortal fate, and each sect has half of it. Now, for the sake of the war, they have to bear the pain of taking it out. No matter what, they have to keep a close eye on it and not let it leak out." Hearing this, Sun Yunzi seemed to be able to feel the faint sour taste in Yun Mingzi's mouth, so he raised his head and looked at Reverend Yu Qing of Tai Ching sect, asking, "Fellow Taoist Yu Qing, your Tai Ching sect is a great inheritance sect, and is also famous for its formations. What do you think of this Heaven and Earth Demon Sealing formation?" Reverend Yu Qing hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Fellow Taoist Sun Yunzi, my Tai Ching sect has never dared to claim to be a formation. Your words are somewhat wrong. This idea of Heaven and Earth Demon Sealing formation was put forward by you. Don't tell me you don't know its origin." Sun Yunzi laughed. "Don't tell me your Tai Ching sect has no inheritance. Fellow Taoist, you are still wrong." Reverend Yu Qing shook his head again. "I only said that day, since our various offensive formations are not effective, why can't we change the way we think? Why can't we use a defensive formation? I often hear people say that the strongest defense is offense. Then why can't the strongest attack be defense?" Fellow Taoist Yu Qing's idea is really wonderful. Reverend Lu Ni clapped his hands and said, "Others don't know, but when I heard that the strongest attack is defense, I also suddenly see the light. Since the sword cultivators hide in the Heavenly Patrol City and don't come out, why don't we use a sealing formation to seal them in? Can we force them to come out?" As for the Heaven and Earth Demon Sealing formation, it seems that on that day we all talked at once and said the strongest offensive formation we know. Only then did we say it, right? Reverend Yu Qing looked at Sun Yunzi with a smile. Sun Yunzi raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "This matter concerns the victory or defeat of our Taoist sect, so no one can hide it. If not for everyone's enthusiasm, if not for someone's reminder, who would have thought that Immortal Music Sect and Immortal Ascension School have such a formation from the immortal world?" "Actually," Reverend Yu Qing hesitated slightly and said, "Speaking of this, I still have to say a few more words. Although the Heaven and Earth Demon Sealing formation is a formation left behind by the immortal world, the formation method is from the immortal world, and the formation tools and other things needed are not provided by our Dawn Rain continent. Moreover, this formation has long been incomplete when it came to our Dawn Rain continent. After so many years of improvement by the two sects, although it can be used on the Dawn Rain continent, this formation has been patched up by two unrelated sects, so I'm afraid there must be a huge flaw in it. If this flaw is used on a small scale, well, for example, the experts of the two sects use this formation to seal the enemy. Although both of them are nascent soul cultivators, if the person they seal is not at the late stage of spirit severing stage or even the early stage of void refinement stage, it is impossible to open the formation. But now, we are using this formation to fight. If hundreds of thousands or even millions of cultivators activate the formation together, won't the flaw be bigger? Fellow Taoist Yu Qing's worries are indeed reasonable.
Reverend Zhua Ming of the Blue Li sect said with a smile. However, you have overestimated the strength of the Immortal Ascension School and Immortal Music sect. That is an immortal formation. Even if it is damaged, how much can they improve? At best, they can only improve it so that it can be used on our Dawn Rain continent. This formation is still the original immortal formation. I actually really want to see what this legendary immortal formation looks like. Sun Yunzi said with a smile. My Xianxia sect has never had such an immortal fate. This immortal fate is good? Reverend Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. If fellow Taoist Sun Yunzi is interested, you might as well look for it in your own Huayuan mountain range. Maybe you can find some broken immortal tools left behind by the immortal world in the Dawn Rain continent. Wouldn't that immortal tool be much better than an immortal formation that looks good but is useless? Do you still need junior brother Lu Ming to say it? I have turned the Huayuan mountain range upside down long ago, but I have never seen such an immortal tool. Sun Yunzi laughed loudly, and then he changed the topic. After the war, if everyone is free, we can go to the danger zones of the various countries to take a look. Although those places are natural dangers, they might be caused by the fall of some immortal artifacts. Who knows who has immortal fate? Who knows where there is a great demon ceiling formation? Yes, if we can get an immortal tool, not only will it be powerful and can protect us, but the refining method, runes and talismans inside will also be available for us to study. The journey of the Great Tao will also be easier. Reverend Lu Ming said, and glanced at Sun Yunzi intentionally or unintentionally. Sun Yunzi knew what Reverend Lu Ming was referring to and sighed. Some sects are really blessed by nature, and we can't compare with them. I'm afraid the thunder-controlling sect of your country is like this. Reverend He Ping said with a double meaning. Senior Qian Yun, the patriarch of the thunder-controlling sect, comprehended the Tao with the help of the thunder-concealing bead. I'm afraid he left it in the thunder-controlling sect, right? Sun Yunzi naturally understood what Reverend He Ping meant. He laughed and said, You're wrong, fellow Taoist He Ping. The thunder-concealing bead is a natural object, not an immortal tool. However, since Senior Qian Yun can comprehend the thunder-concealing bead, he must have his reasons for choosing the Sky Thunder Peak to establish a sect. Maybe, like fellow Taoist He Ping, there is an immortal world thunder element treasure in the Sky Thunder Peak. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that's not true. Reverend Lu Ming shook his head and said, If Qian Leizi has such a treasure, I'm afraid he would have already flown out of seclusion and broken this Sky Patrol city with an immortal tool. Those are hundreds of thousands of disciples of the thunder-controlling sect. Qian Leizi's heart would ache. Everyone laughed, but unfortunately, no disciples of the thunder-controlling sect in Mo Sang Mountain were present. Chapter 3000. When the crowd stopped laughing, Immortal Lu Shi stood up again, looked into the distance, and said, It has been more than 10 days since we've harassed the sword practitioners in Celestial City. I'm afraid it will take some time for Xianjing and the others to set up the formation. We can't stay idle. Let's go. Which fellow Taoist wants to test the power of the sword practitioners' formation with me? Let's go. Several nascent soul practitioners stood up and clamored, We might have to go. Although we can't achieve anything, we can't let the sword practitioners know about our plan. After that, several rays of light of different colors shot up into the sky from the snow-capped peak, flying out in all directions of Celestial City. Not long after, a loud whistling sound was heard from all over Celestial City. 5 hurricanes of different colors rushed into the sky like wild dragons. Wherever the hurricanes passed, the falling snowflakes disappeared instantly. The entire area within 100 miles of Celestial City was suddenly clean. Even the dense red clouds high in the sky were affected, rolling up extremely long cloud waves like a raging sea. The cloud waves rippled layer by layer, and a sound like muffled thunder reverberated in the sky, like a war drum beating in everyone's heart. Similar to the sky high in the sky, the space above Celestial City that had just been swept away by the hurricanes. Not only did the snowflakes disappear, but even the sound was expelled. The silence was terrible. However, the silence only lasted for a moment. The 5 hurricanes came down with a whoosh. Every ray of light in the hurricanes would make a sound when they collided with each other, producing a great force. Thus, a loud rumble, was heard from the place where the hurricanes collided with the sword formation. The sound was 10 times more powerful than the muffled thunder in the sky. At the same time, various kinds of light burst out violently from the places where the 5 hurricanes and the sword formation collided. Not only was the ground shaking, but the whole space was shaking. Even the seemingly indestructible green light was shaking violently. Rays of green light scattered out, and the small swords were torn apart by the explosion. Bumps deeper than a pool appeared on the surface of the sword formation. As soon as the sound of the explosion faded, a rainbow that ran through the sky above Celestial City appeared. The rainbow rolled rapidly, and a great suction force was generated. The scattered hurricanes and a huge amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy were sucked into the rainbow. In the blink of an eye, the rainbow turned into a giant cudgel that was dozens of miles long and hundreds of feet thick. The giant cudgel was raised, and the red clouds in the sky were disturbed by it. Rays of sunlight actually penetrated through the clouds. Whoosh! The raised cudgel then smashed down again, with a loud boom, that was more powerful than the previous explosion. Many Tao sect practitioners who were hundreds of miles away from Celestial City could not withstand the strong impact and fell from the sky. Countless strong gusts of wind blew in all directions again. Snowflakes flew everywhere, and broken ice splashed in all directions. The green light, which was already somewhat tattered, was now cracked by the giant cudgel. It was like a steep cliff at the peak of a mountain, and within the cracks, there were rays of light that looked like flying swords. In the distant sky, Sun Yunzi and the others were watching. Unfortunately, they did not smile when they saw such an attack. They even frowned slightly. Although the attack was fierce, it was obviously not as powerful as the initial attack. It was not that the power of the formation was weak, but that the caster had lost his confidence. Just as Immortal Lu Shi said, an attack without confidence could only be reduced to noise, and could not form a real fatal blow. Sure enough, the giant cudgel dimmed after the first blow. Although it could still be raised, it seemed to be weak. 2 flying swords came out from the deep depression in the green light. The flying swords shuttled back and forth, and rays of green light flew out from the sword shadows. The green light was like a swimming fish, and also like a flying sword. It also rushed into the edge of the depression, and a burst of flowing light appeared. It was like a clear spring flowing into a gully, and the depression could be seen with the naked eye. Sigh, forget it. Sun Yunzi flicked his sleeves, sighed in his heart, and turned to leave. But at this moment, from the north of Sky Patrol City, another meteor-like ray of light with a long tail rushed under the giant cudgel that was about to be raised. This is not a flying sword. It's a technique of my Tao sect. Sun Yunzi raised his eyebrows and immediately became alert. The brilliance around him disappeared, and he looked at the meteor with interest. When the ray of light touched the giant cudgel, it immediately exploded like a spark. The entire giant cudgel was also blown up by the ray of light, and even the cracks began to burn. The burning flame was extremely strange, and it was even faster than the ray of light that streaked across the sky. In a moment, the giant cudgel that was dozens of feet in size and dozens of miles in length was ignited. Swoosh, the flames on the giant cudgel spread out and fell on the Sky Patrol City below like a fairy scattering flowers. Pa 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 pa. Fine sounds rang out incessantly as the falling flames covered the entire sky. Every time they fell by a few inches, a large amount of heaven and earth spirit chi would be sucked into them, causing the flames to expand a little. When the flying flames that covered dozens of miles fell, it had already completely covered the green light array outside the Sky Patrol City. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A burst of light sounds, as fine as rain hitting a banana leaf, and as gentle as the wind blowing the willow branches, came into contact with the green light that was being repaired. As soon as the green light touched the flames immediately turned into sharp vines that wrapped around the flying sword formed by the green light. Naturally, the flying sword also emitted a dazzling sword light to contend with the flames. In a stalemate, the green light was melted by the flames, and the flames were also extinguished by the green light. Although both sides were injured, it was obvious that the layers of green light were quickly disappearing. A few inches, a few feet, a few feet. The green light sword array that had not been broken for 100 days was showing signs of loosening. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 3 loud sword sounds were heard from 3 places in the Sky Patrol City. 3 thick green light giant swords rushed straight into the sky, and when they passed the flames that were like a lake of fire, They rushed to the center at the same time. Boom! A deafening sharp sound was heard. Even a nascent soul cultivator as strong as Sun Yunzi could not help but frown. Seeing that the light protecting his body was shattered by the sharp sound, he had no choice but to activate his magic power to protect himself. The golden elixir cultivators who were watching the battle from afar quickly retreated. Their Taoist robes fluttered and they almost lost their balance. They were like drifting debris, looking very helpless and embarrassed. Sun Yunzi originally wanted to help, but at this moment, a whistling sound was heard again. At the place where the three giant swords collided, countless flying swords were born. These flying swords fell like a rain of swords, once again covering dozens of miles of space. There was originally no spiritual energy in this space, but when the flying swords fell, strands of green light were born between the flying swords. From afar, the flying swords were like raindrops, and the green light was like a smoke screen. There was no extra suspense when the rain fell on the fire. Sigh. Sun Yunzi didn't know how many times he had sighed. He understood that this meteor-like radiance was definitely a technique of some clan. If it was placed elsewhere, it would definitely be as powerful as a thunderbolt. However, within this mysterious sword cultivator formation, it was somewhat insignificant. However, to be able to detect that this green light sword array is made up of three giant swords, this method is quite powerful. Sun Yunzi turned and flew away, thinking to himself, the method that the green light giant swords use to extinguish the flames is somewhat similar to the heaven and earth dual forms demon sealing array that we're going to use. It does seem to make sense. After Sun Yunzi left, many of the Taoist sect cultivators also left. It was as if this was not a battlefield of Taoist sword sect, but a party of fireworks. The smoke-filled sky gradually calmed down. The wind rose again, the snow fell again, the dark clouds slowly closed, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth also slowly flowed in. However, under the one-day green light sword array, Chong Taishu looked at Cheng Minghua, Chilean Butterfly, and Rua Tian, who each held a green light sword, and his expression turned serious. Three sword masters. How was the power of the array just now? It was quite powerful. Rua Tian replied without hesitation. My Supreme Harmony green light sword has already unleashed 80% of its power. If we don't counterattack, I'm afraid we won't be able to withstand the attack. Yes, 80%. Three green light swords. Chong Taishu nodded slightly. I'm afraid Sky Patrol City's defense is at its last gasp. The time for us to reveal our true intentions has finally arrived. However, Chilean Butterfly smiled and said, Sword Master Chong, aren't you worrying too much? The Taoist sect has been attacking Sky Patrol City for more than 100 days and there hasn't been any improvement. Today, they only used 3 green light swords to destroy their array. If they really wanted to attack, wouldn't they have to kill a few nascent soul stage cultivators? Besides, the Taoist sect has already used all the methods they can. I don't believe that they have more powerful methods. Don't you believe in the power of the one-day green light sword array? Chong Taishu smiled bitterly and said, Of course I know that this sword array is powerful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put all my eggs in one basket and put all my forces in Sky Patrol City. However, the problem is that we can't guard this Sky Patrol City forever. Sooner or later, the Path Sect will find a way to break this green light sword array. We must provoke the Path Sect's anger before they break it, especially before the time limit that we promised them. We must make them fight to the death with us. Actually within these 100 days, Sword Master Chong can challenge the nascent soul stage cultivators of the Taoist sect at any time. With their help, it won't be difficult to kill Sun Yunzi and Lu Ni Zhenren. Zhua Ming smiled and asked, But why does Sword Master Chong keep retreating? Killing Xueyu is already enough to deter the 3 kingdoms of cultivation for a long time. If we kill them one after another, I'm afraid the Taoist sect will be angry. Chong Taishu smiled and said, Only by constantly attacking and defending, can they realize that our sword cultivation is not inferior to their Taoist sects. And at the critical moment when they are struggling, we can launch a thunderous attack to completely crush their confidence and make them unable to take revenge. Chapter 3001. Of course, the most important thing is that they only agreed to help once. The most crucial moment has not come yet. Chong Taishu replied confidently. Actually, with the cyan light swords in our hands, our power may not be weaker than theirs. Chilean Butterfly said unhappily. No matter how critical the situation is, as long as you and I take action, can't we destroy the Taoism sect? Our cyan light swords are indeed powerful, but we need to set up a formation. Moreover, with the help of the cyan light swords, we may be able to kill a nascent soul stage cultivator. But we can't really make the Taoism sect cultivators fear us. As I said, only a thunderous strike will let them know that resistance is useless, and they will obediently admit defeat. Chong Taishu had to explain, but his explanation seemed to explain nothing. All right. Chilean Butterfly nodded slightly and waved her hand. The cyan light sword in her hand turned into a thunderbolt and rushed into the cyan light above the Sky Patrol city and disappeared. She then looked at somewhere in the city and whispered, "Are they ready?" "I'm afraid it will take some time. That senior seems to be looking for something." Chong Taishu replied in a low voice. "By the way, Swordmaster Chong, it seems that the disciples who killed John Doe should have returned, right? Do they have any news?" Cheng Minghua suddenly asked. Chong Taishu was obviously stunned and frowned. "I forgot about this. It seems that there is really no news. However, 3 second-level swordmasters of the Sword Realm are going to capture a cultivator at the early stage of the nascent soul stage. Perhaps the news has been sent back to the Sword Tomb, but because the Taoism sect besieged the Sky Patrol city, we can't get it." "Well, I hope so," Cheng Minghua said worriedly. "I always feel uneasy. This John Doe is really too mysterious." "Hee, Swordmaster Cheng. Don't worry. With Lu Ruochong following them, they are brave and resourceful. How can there be any mistakes? Even if they can't capture John Doe, it will be the same if they kill him." Chilean Butterfly said with a smile. "According to Swordmaster Chong, even if the 3 of them return empty-handed, we only need to reveal John Doe's secret to Immortal Miyu of the Thunder-controlling sect. Do you think John Doe can still stay in the 3 cultivation kingdoms?" I hope so. Cheng Minghua chuckled and turned to leave. Chong Taishu narrowed his eyes and raised his head to look at the green sword screen. No one knew what he was thinking. On the other hand, Blue Butterfly's smile disappeared as she whispered, "Swordsman Chong, do you think?" "Sigh, that's right. To be honest, I do have a bad feeling about this." Chong Taishu looked around and saw that there was no one around, so he didn't try to hide anything. Since Wu Ming and his men dared to enter Meng Mountain so brazenly, they must have something to rely on. "If you're saying that the soul cultivators of Meng Mountains will also join the battle?" Blue Butterfly asked in surprise. That's impossible, right?" "Nothing is impossible." Chong Taishu shook his head slightly. "I'm afraid that even the nascent soul cultivators of the Dao sect think that it's impossible for us to take down the Sky Patrol city. But now, we've already taken him down. Xiaohua nameless." Blue Butterfly let out a deep sigh. Xiaohua said goodbye to Zhang Qingxiao and flew to Sky Thunder Peak. It was not just a day. Seeing the familiar mountain range, Xiaohua was suddenly moved. He remembered that he was chased by Immortal Jianghu and ended up in a sorry state. He still remembered the feeling of returning to his hometown. Looking at the grass and trees, Xiaohua felt that the grass and trees here were different from the last time he came back. But when he thought of the myriad Thunder Valley, his master, senior brothers, and others, Xiaohua felt that the grass and trees here were very familiar. Only this place belonged to him. The sun was charming, the grass and trees were fresh, the mountains were stacked, and the green water was long. Everything made Xiaohua feel that even though he had gone to the Sky Patrol city, even though he had gone through several dangers and hovered between life and death a few times, it was all worth it. It was because he wanted to protect this family. His senior brothers and junior brothers who were cultivating in this family, and some of his martial nephews who were full of vitality. There were even juniors who had not joined the Imperial Thunder Sect and had not met yet. Facing them, Xiaohua could say without regret that he had tried his best, that he had stopped the attack of the sword cultivators, and that he had used his strength to leave a beautiful space for them. Naturally, Xiaohua also sighed with emotion. The war between Dao and Sword had lasted for more than 10 years. Countless cultivators had fallen on the battlefield, and the blood and tears shed were endless. Presumably, they also had the same thought before they died. Just like how he was, they wanted to protect the obsession in their hearts. They wanted to fight for their loved ones. For everything they protected, at any cost. Thank you, great God Hutu. I hope these cultivators can sleep peacefully in the arms of great God Hutu. Involuntarily, Xiaohua had such a thought in his heart. Then, Xiaohua smiled bitterly and shook his head slightly. Damn it, I've stayed in Meng Mountain for too long. How can it be easy to enter the arms of great God Hutu? That's the home of millions of Meng Mountain soul warriors. But just as he thought of this, Xiaohua suddenly quivered. He slapped his forehead and realized, that's not right. If the netherworld is transformed by great God Hutu, it's the home of millions of Meng Mountain soul warriors. Junior respectfully welcomes Martial Uncle Xiaohua's triumphant return to the sect. Hee, you can wait for me. Xiaohua's heart felt warm. Looking at these disciples who were still somewhat pure in their hearts and seeing their respect, the feeling of everything was worth it, from before was born again.
Junior forgot.
The disciple at the front slapped his forehead and hastily took out a message talisman from his bosom. Under the urging of his magic power, lightning flashed and rushed into the air. It was the Imperial Thunder Sect's unique Thunder Note talisman. Martial Uncle Xiao, among the hundreds of patrol teams in the Imperial Thunder Palace, every team leader has a special Thunder Note talisman. The Qi Refinement disciple respectfully explained, this Thunder Note talisman is directly sent to the Xiao Lei Hall and received by our Imperial Thunder Palace's Palace Master. He said that Martial Uncle Xiao is the second greatest contributor to our Imperial Thunder Sect. As long as Martial Uncle Xiao returns to the sect, he will personally welcome Martial Uncle Xiao on behalf of Lord Sect Master.
It seems there's no need to be so polite, right?
Although Xiaohua's words were polite, he was also happy in his heart. After all, he had contributed a lot to the Imperial Thunder Sect and the three kingdoms of Dao cultivators. Although there were many secrets that he couldn't reveal for the time being able to obtain the Imperial Thunder Sect's affirmation was also an explanation for Xiaohua's helplessness to the myriad Thunder Valley.
Presumably, Master, who has always loved face, won't complain anymore, right? Xiaohua thought to himself.
Then, he looked at the dozen or so respectful Qi Refinement disciples and said with a smile, there's no need to be so reserved.
What are your names? Also, tell this old man about the situation in the sect.
The other disciples who participated in the war have already returned, right? After saying this, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh inwardly. This old man. With this old man's cultivation, I'm afraid I'll really have to call myself this old man in the future.
Chapter 3002.
Although Xiaohua claimed to be an old man, he actually looked very young, and his expression was extremely amiable, without a trace of the arrogance of a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator. If they didn't use their magic power to probe and look at Xiaohua's appearance countless times, these Qi refining disciples would never think that this seemingly ordinary cultivator was actually Xiaohua, who was famous in the cultivation world. At this time, after listening to Xiaohua's words, the respect in their hearts became even greater, but they also restrained their restraint and nervousness. The former disciple reported his name in a low voice, and the other disciples also hurriedly said their names, trying to get familiar with Xiaohua. Unfortunately, after Xiaohua heard it, he shook his head with a wry smile. Martial nephews. I'm old and have a bad memory. Except for the names of these martial nephews, I'm afraid I can't remember the others. However, I've remembered your appearance. If you have nothing to do in the future, go to the Myriad Thunder Valley. If you meet more often, you'll naturally remember. We understand. I'm afraid we'll disturb Martial Uncle in the future. The group of disciples laughed, feeling that Xiaohua was humorous. After all, cultivators were intelligent. How could he not remember the names of these dozen people? Everyone thought that Xiaohua was joking, and what they cared about the most was the last sentence of Xiaohua, which meant that he could give them pointers in their cultivation in the future. Who was Xiaohua? He was now in the limelight of the Imperial Thunder Sect, second only to Wu Ming and Terrifying Phoenix in the conference hall of the Imperial Thunder Sect. His cultivation had been baptized by blood and fire in the Great Battle of Dao Sword, so he was more powerful than ordinary middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators. If it was someone else who gave them pointers, their master might say something, but if it was Xiaohua, their master might only be happy, right? Besides, Although they were all in the Imperial Thunder Sect, which Foundation establishment cultivator would give pointers to other Thunder Palace disciples? After everyone laughed, they recounted the situation of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples returning to the mountain. Just as Xiaohua expected, the Imperial Thunder Sect sent out a thunderboat to pick up all the disciples who participated in the first stage of the Great Battle of Dao Sword. On the day of the thunderboat's return, each Thunder Palace sent out a large number of disciples to welcome them. The scene was lively and sensational, which was definitely rare in the history of the Imperial Thunder Sect. It was a great ceremony for these disciples who returned with honor. It also expressed the gratitude of the Imperial Thunder Sect to these disciples. Moreover, after these disciples returned, all of them were rewarded by their respective sections. Those disciples who had battle achievements were also rewarded generously by their respective lightning palaces. Many disciples were like Cui Hongshan, and were given important positions by their respective lightning palaces. Apart from the 100,000 disciples who had returned to the mountain, only Xiaohua, the disciple who had followed the first team of the discussion hall to gain experience, was left. He was the only one who had not returned. However, no matter how many honors and rewards there were, they couldn't cover up the loss of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Less than 100,000 disciples returned. Thinking back to that day when the thunderboat was activated, tens of thousands of barges were vying for the river. Thinking back to that day when the thunderboat was activated and the fervor of the tens of thousands of barges were about to trample the Dawn Rain continent under their feet, although Xiaohua was only listening to it, his heart was also distressed. Sigh, if it weren't for the fact that it was too difficult, who would be willing to abandon their fellow disciples' corpses in foreign lands? Xiaohua nodded. This Xiao has seen several great battles. Sword cultivators are fierce, fighting each other to the death. If they win, they'll chase and kill. If they lose, they'll flee. Those who survived are more precious than those who died. We can't lose more disciples for corpses, right? We can only collect the corpses when we're certain of it. Moreover, the corpses of sword cultivators have always been together with the corpses of our Dao Sword Sect's cultivators. It's very difficult to distinguish them. Sword cultivators' sword attire is different from ours, right? The other disciples asked curiously. Xiaohua shook his head. Under the influence of magic power and sword essence, there are very few corpses that can be intact. It's impossible to distinguish them just by their attire. The tragedy of the great battle can be seen from this, that disciple nodded. If not for Martial Uncle's reminder, we would have taken it for granted. Right. At this moment, a disciple at the 7th level of Qi refining hesitated for a long time before finally speaking. Martial Uncle Xiao, disciple. Disciple wants to ask you something. Speak. Xiaohua looked at this low-level disciple and said in the same kind manner. Do you know who Great Master Wu is? That disciple's face flushed red. He finally spoke the question that he had held back for who knows how many years. Not to mention this disciple, even the eyes of all the other disciples were filled with anticipation. Their ears also perked up. Hee, this old man has never seen this Nameless. Xiaohua smiled and shook his head. However, there's never anything that's absolutely secret in this world. Since Nameless is a disciple of our Imperial Thunder Sect, then sooner or later, we'll know who Nameless is. Moreover, this old man feels that it's not important whether we know who Nameless is or not. What's important is that we know that Nameless is right beside us. The disciples were clearly disappointed, but after hearing Xiaohua's words, they came to a realization. The disciple at the front smiled apologetically. Martial Uncle Xiao, please don't blame us for being curious. Right now, the entire Imperial Thunder Sect is in an uproar. Everyone is guessing who Great Master Wu is. That's right. After all, Great Master Wu is just a quiet person. As soon as he appeared, he saved the disciples of dozens of sects. He's the #1 hero in the great battle of Dao cultivators and the pride of our Imperial Thunder Sect. Who doesn't want to know who he is? All the disciples shouted. Hee, Xiaohua had seen the cultivators unrelated to the Imperial Thunder Sect in the meeting hall of Tongmu City frantically investigate Nameless origins. Naturally, he understood the Imperial Thunder Sect's enthusiasm for finding Nameless. Moreover, he also understood that since the sword cultivators had already confirmed that he was Nameless, this news would definitely spread to the Imperial Thunder Sect after the end of the Great Battle of Dao Sword.
At that time, he would have to see how he would cover it up. That's difficult. Xiaohua couldn't help but smile bitterly. Martial Uncle Xiao, then are you a terrifying phoenix? Another disciple gathered his courage and asked. Moreover, his gaze was secretly looking at Xiaohua's back. I naturally want to admit it. Xiaohua said ambiguously. Unfortunately, I don't have the phoenix dharma body. Even if I admit it, who would believe me? It can't be, right? The disciple wailed. I feel that besides martial Uncle Xiao, no other Foundation establishment master is worthy of the title of terrifying phoenix. That's right. Another disciple shouted. All the disciples who returned denied it. Only martial Uncle Xiao hasn't returned. How could there be anyone else besides martial Uncle Xiao? Hi, that's right. None of the Imperial Thunder Sect disciples are terrifying phoenix. I'm the only Foundation establishment cultivator. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. However, the problem was that he really didn't have the phoenix dharma body. How could he admit it? Perhaps, the terrifying phoenix has already fallen? Xiaohua asked tentatively. Impossible. All the disciples retorted in unison. How could the terrifying phoenix, who killed the sword cultivators of Huan country, fall in the Great War of Dao Sword? Anything is possible. Xiaohua replied faintly. He looked at the distant sky and smiled. I'm afraid Palace Lord Zhen is too busy? Or maybe the bad news of Sky Patrol City made him too busy to come over. Zhen Mo, are there any special rules for the disciples who returned from the war? If possible, I'm going to return to the Myriad Thunder Valley first. The disciple called Zhen Mo blushed as if he had lied. He stuttered, there are no special rules for the others. Even if the disciples who returned later, they would be welcomed by the martial uncle of Zhen Lei Palace. Martial Uncle Xiao was specially appointed by the Palace Lord to welcome him. At this point, Zhen Mo said carefully, Imperial Thunder Sect only just received the news of Sky Patrol City's fall. However, although Sky Patrol City has fallen, our Dao Sect may not lose the Great War of Dao Sword. Imperial Thunder Sect disciples are still fighting a bloody battle. Although the Palace Lord is busy, he may still have time, right? Xiaohua was stunned. He had long known about the fall of the Sky Patrol City and the Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain's disciples being trapped in the city. Since the Imperial Thunder Sect had received the news of the fall of the Sky Patrol City, they might not be unaware of the news that the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples had been captured by sword cultivators, right? However, Xiaohua soon understood. Imperial Thunder Sect must have deliberately covered up the news for some special reasons. They did not want their disciples to know that their disciples had fallen into the enemy's hands. However, why did they not want to let them know? Xiaohua did not understand again. Chapter 3003. It's a prestigious sect. Is their reputation that important? Can they cover it up for a lifetime? Xiaohua immediately thought of the fallen Qian Mo's actions seemed to be a standard Imperial Thunder Sect disciple. Thinking here, Xiaohua felt a sense of dejection and powerlessness. He said faintly, since Martial Uncle Zhen is busy with work, then I'll. Before he finished speaking, two divine wills swept over from the Sky Thunder Peak. Xiaohua was very familiar with one of them. Zhen Qing, Martial Uncle Zhen. Xiaohua didn't expect to meet Zhen Qing as soon as he returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. He couldn't help but think of Sun Qian. Since Zhen Qing came, Xiaohua naturally couldn't leave. He could only respectfully stand in the air. Not long later, two early-stage Golden Core State cultivators came together. The one in front was Zhen Qing, who Xiaohua was familiar with. Zhen Qing still had that melancholy expression, but there was more hair in her hair. Together with that melancholy, it added an indescribable charm. No wonder. Xiaohua knew about the relationship between Zhen Qing, Sun Qian, and Chen Yi and couldn't help but sigh. Behind Zhen Qing was an ordinary Golden Core State cultivator with a similar build to Zhen Qing. Xiaohua didn't recognize him. However, Xiaohua still went up to greet them extremely respectfully. He bowed and said,
Junior Xiaohua greets the two martial uncles. The qi refining disciples behind Xiaohua all said in unison, Junior greets martial uncles. Hee, Xiaohua, stand up. This is my Zhenlei Palace's Jade Archive Hallmaster, Qian Zhongliang. You probably haven't seen him before, right? Zhen Qing didn't act courteous with Xiaohua and helped him up. Oh, so it's the Jade Archive Hallmaster. Xiaohua was a bit shocked as he looked at this ordinary golden core state cultivator. He already knew the importance of the Jade Archive Hall. The Jade Archive Hall of each sect was directly managed by the sect master. The Imperial Thunder sect put the Jade Archive Hall under the Zhenlei Palace for ease of management. However, the Hallmaster still reported directly to Master Qian Lei. To be able to hold the position of Jade Archive Hallmaster, Qian Zhongliang must be Master Qian Lei's trusted disciple. Xiaohua admitted that he didn't know this trusted disciple from the Heavenly Thunder Palace before the Dao Sword battle. Disciple Xiaohua of the Myriad Thunder Valley greets Hall Master Qian. Xiaohua respectfully bowed again. Haha, get up. Xiaohua, you're the great hero of my thunder-controlling sect in the Dao Sword War. It is the pride of all Imperial Thunder sect disciples. Qian Zhongliang politely helped Xiaohua up while Zhen Qing ordered Zhen Mo and the others to continue their patrol. Qian Zhongliang continued, moreover, at the beginning of the war, all the life spirit tablets of the participating disciples were monitored. Now that the first stage of the war is over, all the monitoring life spirit tablets have been returned. Only your life spirit tablet is left there alone. Even if I don't want to pay attention to you, it's impossible. Hearing this, Xiaohua immediately thought of Ziming and Elder Wu's evaluation of the natal spirit tablet in Back Earth Stronghold, and a trace of displeasure appeared in his heart. However, he still smiled apologetically and said, Thank you for your hard work, Hall Master Qian. Apart from the fallen seniors, there is also a portion of this junior's battle merits that should be given to the seniors in the rear like Hall Master. With the support of Hall Master Qian and the others, we can fight with all our might in the war. Ha ha ha, Hall Master Qian laughed. I don't care what others say. But Marshal Nephew Zhao's words. This old man has to consider it carefully. Yes, Marshal Nephew Xiao, your battle merits are really great. Hall Master Qian will be so happy that he can't close his mouth if you share some of your battle merits. Zhen Qing explained with a smile. Hearing this, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He said with a smile, I'm just a foundation establishment cultivator. What battle merits can I have? I'm just basking in the glory of Li Zongbao of the Utopia faction and the first team of the conference hall. Fortunately, Zhen Qing didn't mention Wu Ming. Instead, she looked at Xiaohua kindly, just like when she brought Xiaohua to the Feather Deity Conference dozens of years ago. You're already very good. Let's not talk about the other battle merits. In the war, Yu and Cui Hongshan of the Thunder Palace protected the first team of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Just this is enough to make all the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect admire you. Yes, whether it's Zhen Minghui, Su Qing, Zhen Hua, Qiu Su, Bai Sugu, Dui Ling and Ming Mao, when they returned to the Sky Thunder Peak, the first thing they did was to earnestly ask for your merits. They said that if it weren't for you and Cui Hongshan, they wouldn't have returned alive. Especially your first team of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Except for the two female disciples, Dui Ling and Ming Mao, the cultivation of the other 8 people in the war advanced by leaps and bounds, far surpassing the others. It's really enviable. Qian Vongliang also echoed with a smile. Seeing 2 golden core cultivators talking and laughing in front of him, if Xiaohua was really a foundation establishment cultivator, he would definitely be a little nervous. But now, his real cultivation had reached the late stage of the golden core stage. In terms of strength, he was not inferior to the early stage of the original infant stage. He really didn't put the cultivation of these 2 people in his eyes. His respect for Zhen Qing came from the bottom of his heart. He didn't have any feelings towards this Qian Zhongliang. Now that he was smiling and pretending to be respectful, he was a little impatient. As if she saw Xiaohua's unnatural expression, Zhen Qing smiled and said, Xiaohua, with your merits, my Zhenlei Palace Lord, Zhen Yunzi, should personally come and welcome you. Furthermore, he had already sent out an order. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the Zhenlei Palace these few days. Zhen Mo's message couldn't reach him in time and could only be sent to Hall Master General recently, I was sent by the sect leader to assist Hallmaster Jen in the Jade Archive Hall. Thinking that we are old friends, I accompanied Hallmaster Jen to welcome you. Logically speaking, the two of us weren't the only ones who came to welcome you. Qian Zhongliang glanced at Zhen Qing and explained, when the 100,000 disciples returned to the mountain, the entire Zhen Lei Palace came out. Martial nephew Zhao's return should have been a more grand ceremony, but, without waiting for Qian Zhongliang to finish, Xiaohua smiled and said, I have always liked peace and quiet. When I came back just now, I was worried that it would be lively. When Zhen Mo sent out the Thundernote talisman, I wanted to stop him. However, I heard that it was an order from the palace lord, so I didn't dare to say anything. The fact that the two seniors are here already makes me anxious. In my opinion, the best thing to do now is to return to the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Ha ha ha, Hallmaster Qian, see? Did I tell you? Martial nephew Xiao doesn't like crowds. I know this. Zhen Qing seemed to be very happy as she smiled and said, back then during the Feather Immortal gathering, he didn't say anything and gave us a fright. Yes, indeed. Just now, I said that no matter what, I would bring the disciples of the Jade Archive Hall over. However, I was stopped by Junior Zhen. Qian Zhongliang nodded and said, however, Martial nephew Xiao can't return to the 10,000 Thunder Valley now. You are now the most popular person in the Imperial Thunder Sect. When I received the Thundernote talisman, I had already sent a message talisman to the Palace Lord. Follow me back to the Jade Archive Hall and see what the Palace Lord has arranged. Yes, the sect matters are more important than anything else. I will listen to the two seniors' instructions. Xiao Hua naturally understood that he had no choice but to return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Not to mention that he had to report to Master Chen Lazy and the others in detail when he saw them. He would have to communicate with the 8 great thunder palaces for several months without sleep or rest. Therefore, he could only reply with a bow. Let's go. Zhen Qing said with a smile. Xiao Hua has finally returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. We shouldn't stay here any longer. Other than Shan Feng, there are no other disciples here to welcome him. Let him sit in the Jade Archive Hall and have a good rest. Haha, that's right. Qian Zhongliang looked around. Although the air around the three of them was empty and no disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect dared to disturb them, in the air not far away, on the mountain peak, there were many disciples on patrol. Moreover, there were still many disciples quietly flying over. Obviously, they had heard the news and came to see with their own eyes this Foundation establishment disciple who had become famous because of the Dao sword battle. Seeing this scene, Qian Zhongliang smiled and said, I was thinking that there were no disciples to welcome martial nephew Xiao. I felt guilty and forgot about this matter. Now, we should invite martial nephew Xiao to have a rest. Otherwise, our Imperial Thunder Sect won't even have a disciple on patrol. Seniors, please. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Disciple is already very satisfied to have 2 seniors to welcome me. Haha, let's go. Qian Zhongliang said and activated his magic power. His figure took the lead, but his flying speed was not fast. Obviously, he was waiting for Xiao Hua. Then, Zhen Qing accompanied Xiao Hua and flew behind Qian Zhongliang. After flying like this for half a cup of tea's time, Xiao Hua looked at Zhen Qing next to him. This man with a story. His lips moved a bit as if he wanted to say something. After all, although Sun Qian did not let Xiao Hua tell Zhen Qing about this matter, Xiao Hua did not agree. He still wanted to make things clear. Oh, nephew, is there something wrong? Zhen Qing was extremely sensitive and asked with a smile. Oh, the moment Zhen Qing asked, Xiao Hua laughed in his heart. He had not even dealt with Fairy Hongxia and Xue Xue. Why should he worry about other people's old affairs? Maybe Zhen Qing was the same as Sun Qian and did not want to let him know. Disciple thanks Senior Master for the jade slip. Xiao Hua hurriedly said. If not for Senior Master's generosity, this junior might not be able to have such cultivation today. What Xiao Hua said was the truth. Zhen Qing's understanding of condensing the golden core was extremely important for Xiao Hua to condense the golden core. Moreover, the exquisite gold was obtained from Zhen Qing. The wishful staff was also refined because of Zhen Qing. Zhen Qing's favor was indeed big. Xiao Hua could not thank him enough. But how could Zhen Qing know about this? Sweeping a glance at Qian Zhongliang, he waved his hand and said, That jade slip is this old man's token of gratitude.
It will still be useful in the future. You should understand more. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.